Chapter 1331. Beside the dilapidated building, Emperor Ling's long hair fluttered in the wind. Thousands of swords circled around her body, her expression dark. The three realms had really changed. In the past, even a level 7 clone could shock the three realms, much less such a powerful clone. Now, she had already revealed her ability to break through 2 gates. She was even about to reveal her ability to break through 9 gates. These people's eyes were still burning, wishing they could tear her apart the next moment. Compromise? She still had the majesty and dignity of an emperor. She was not as tolerant as the emperor. Her heart was burning with anger, but she was not willing to compromise with these people. Must you all force me to kill you all? If you leave now, I will send you all to break through. This was her bottom line. As for silencing them, she now knew that it would be difficult. It was not that there was no other way, but if she really went all out, her years of planning would be in vain. Juan chuckled. After fighting for so long, my injuries are not light. If you give me tens of thousands of dried fish like Fong Pings, of course, we will leave obediently. Tens of thousands. Fong Ping wanted to roll his eyes. This one really dared to say that. When he said 100,000, it was just a casual remark. For Emperor Ling to condense one in 10 years was already considered impressive. It was not that she could not condense more. The key was that her clone needed to cultivate 2. Saving one in 10 years was already considered not bad. She said 100,000 years. Had Emperor Ling been here for 100,000 years, that might not be the case. If she could save a few thousand, it would already be considered not being wasteful. It might even be less. You're asking for death. Emperor Ling was also holding her breath. Hearing Juan speak rudely again, her gaze was as sharp as a knife. With a cold glint, she slashed at Juan's side. She stepped on the void and retreated continuously. Blood flowed from her mouth, but she still smiled. This old woman is strong enough. This is what I like about you. Die. No dogs in the world. A roar shook the surroundings. At this moment, countless Luan appeared in the world. Countless Luan punched, slapped, kicked. In the blink of an eye, they shrouded Emperor Ling from all directions. The overlord of the chaotic era was not someone to be trifled with. Insignificant tricks. Emperor Ling's cold voice rang out. Destroy the world. At this moment, the aura of the spiritual emperor was terrifyingly strong. With a swing of his sword, countless chaotic explosions occurred. Far away, Luan's main body was sent flying backward. Countless sword wounds appeared on his body, and blood was gushing out. Sherpa stabbed out with his spear, not towards Ling Huang, but to block in front of Luan. At this moment, a thin sword suddenly appeared, colliding with the long spear. With a rumbling sound, the spear had exploded, and the thin sword disappeared. Luan was struck by the aftershock, and blood gushed out of her mouth as she was sent flying again. On the other side, just as the Spirit Emperor was about to continue, he suddenly frowned. In the void, an incomparably solid giant hand directly broke through the void and instantly appeared above her head. The large hand suddenly clenched. Rumble! The Spirit Emperor slashed out with his sword, creating a crack in the palm of the huge hand. He quickly suppressed his own aura, and the huge hand hovered for a moment before disappearing in an instant. Fong Ping, on the other hand, quickly met up with Luan and Sherpa. The expressions of the three of them were very heavy, and their faces were extremely pale. However, they were smiling inexplicably, even somewhat malevolent. This old woman is really strong, quite powerful. Just now, she had at least broken 8 peak combat strength. Both of you, do you still dare to fight her? Fong Ping chuckled. It's fine as long as you're not afraid. There are good and bad things about this place. her combat strength is slightly restricted, unless she can avoid the rules. However, we are outnumbered, so we might not be able to defeat her." As he said that, Fong Ping bared his teeth. "Both of you delay. Let's try our luck. Delay until another broken 8 enters the game. When Hongkuan and the rest arrive, we'll be in danger. However, if someone else comes, when the Forging God envoy or the Heavenly Hound arrives, we'll win." Fong Ping spat out a mouthful of blood foam and smiled malevolently. "Or if Sky Arm, Underworld God, and the rest come, it'll work too. Especially Sky Arm. His jade bones are not complete. If he knows what we're fighting for, he'll be tempted." Right now, there were still many Broken 8 in this mystic realm. When the enemy arrived, they would be in big trouble. However, when it came to their own people, or those who had just entered martial arts, Ling Huang might be in big trouble. When Fong Ping said to bet on luck, he really meant it. If Hongyu and the rest came, Fong Ping guaranteed that those people would deal with him, and they would definitely not be Ling Huang. They probably couldn't wait for Ling Huang's avatar to leave or participate in the last round, but for Fong Ping, it would be best if he died early and reincarnated. Sherpa thought for a moment and smiled. The chances are not small, and the chances of winning are even higher. Then let's go. Heavenly Hound, Forging God Envoy, Heavenly King Suppressing King, Sky Arm, Underworld God. These guys could be considered as helpers. Even the Demon Emperor might be a helper, unless the 2 fellows from the imperial family came, or Li Zhu or King Qian came. In terms of numbers, their chances of winning were higher. For powerhouses like them, as long as the chances of winning were greater than the chances of losing, it was definitely worth the gamble. Ling Huang frowned again. The greed in these few lunatics' eyes was obvious. Obviously, they were not ready to give up. She had unleashed a very powerful strength just now. Otherwise, she would not have been able to seriously injure Luan with one sword. However, she was also targeted by the power of the rule. If she unleashed her strength again, the power of the rule would definitely continue to target her, and it would become more and more serious. At this moment, Ling Huang was also having a headache. There would definitely be more people coming for this round. No matter who it was, it would not be a good thing for her. "What are you guys trying to do?" Ling Huang looked at the 3 of them, a little angry. She spat out a mouthful of blood and laughed happily. "Tens of thousands of fish. I've already told you so many times, and you still ask. If you don't, I'll beat you to death. You be *tise. Bastard." Ling Huang snorted. In the next moment, thousands of swords exploded again, covering the 3 of them. The 3 of them did not hesitate, unleashing their strength one after another, smashing the thin swords. At this moment, Ling Huang snorted coldly again, suddenly no longer controlling the long swords, but broke through the air. A pair of jade-colored arms tore through the void, and both palms struck at Fong Ping. "Retreat!" Sherpa roared. Fong Ping also roared crazily, quickly breaking through the sky. Danger! This woman was here. How could she not have forged her jade bones? A powerhouse who had broken through the peak of the 8th jade bone realm had a terrifyingly strong physique. Although Fong Ping dodged, he was still a little too late. Boom! A pair of palms hit Fong Ping's right leg. The armor on his leg was the Divine Artifact Emperor armor, but it was still no match. With a boom, the Emperor armor caved in, and Fong Ping's leg bone broke with a crack. Sherpo's spear exploded again, hitting Ling Huang's palm. He took a few steps back, but also left a bloody mark on her palm. Ling Huang was only slightly injured, but at this moment, a large hand appeared in the void again, smacking her head. "Damn it!" Ling Huang snarled, raising her hand to hit the palm. At this moment, Fong Ping, whose leg was broken, gritted his teeth. "You, Ling Huang, like to break people's legs, right? I've long heard of it. Today, you broke your own leg. How could you tolerate it? Just as Ling Huang counterattacked the rule palm, Fang Ping snorted, instantly broke through the air, and smashed his staff down from the sky. This time, he directly mixed into the rule palm. Ling Huang was slightly stunned. She did not expect Fang Ping to be able to mix into the palm without being attacked. At this moment, Fang Ping and the rule palm attacked her at the same time. On the other side, Wan also roared. Her figure was so fast that it was impossible to catch, surrounding Ling Huang and attacking wildly. Sherpa did not fall behind. The sound of the spear in the void was ear-piercing. On the ground, those true gods were bleeding from their 7 orifices, and some true gods' flesh even began to crack. Even if they joined forces with the saints to resist, they would not be able to hold on when so many powerhouses exploded. Fang Ping and the others were not interested in caring about them. The rumbling sounds were endless. Ling Huang was really strong. Even if she was suppressed by the rule, at this moment, she was still terrifyingly powerful. Fang Ping's staff swept down. Ling Huang was also angry, suddenly screaming. A sharp whistling sound that was mixed with mental power swept over. Fang Ping's origin world rumbled and began to shake. The installed Tao was showing signs of instability at this moment. Fang Ping's flesh that had just recovered exploded again, but this staff also smashed down at the same time with the rule palm. With a bang, the flesh on Ling Huang's right hand burst open. "How dare you hurt me?" Ling Huang's face was as cold as frost. Her blood-stained right hand suddenly clenched into a fist and punched toward Fang Ping, also toward the rule palm. This time, it was even stronger. Bang! The rule palm exploded. Fang Ping roared and flew up again, breaking through the air. Behind him, the fist followed like a shadow, and a punch landed on the sole of Fang Ping's foot. Bang! This time, the broken right leg was directly shattered. Fang Ping felt the extremely powerful fist force exploding in his body. He also made up his mind, breaking the root of his thigh directly. The broken thigh fell instantly, falling above Ling Huang's head in the blink of an eye, exploding with a bang. Mother asterisk cur, one of my legs is broken. There's no chance for negotiation today. Fang Ping also roared. His leg that was almost jade bone was now completely crippled. If he wanted to forge it to this stage again, who knew how much resources he would need to consume? The broken thigh also made Ling Huang slightly sluggish. On the other side, Luan attacked quickly, his speed extremely fast. Ling Huang did not have time to chase after Fang Ping. He waved his fists and fought Luan. In the blink of an eye, Luan flew out again. Both his fists had already exploded, both his arms exploded from the elbows, and both his forearms were broken. Ling Huang did not feel too good either. On both of his hands, there was only jade bone, but the flesh was gone. Just as Luan was about to succeed, Sherpo's spear stabbed over 1,000 times, and with a puff, it pierced through Ling Huang's collarbone. The rule palm appeared again. Ling Huang was completely furious. Suddenly, she did not care about Luan and Sherpa. She broke through the air, not even caring about the rule palm. Her eyes were cold, like a knife cutting through Fang Ping. She wanted to kill this bastard Fang Ping. This Fang Ping is in big trouble. Underground. Celestial fate shuddered. Ling Huang, the only female empress, is not a good person. 9 emperors for emperors, 13 top-notch powerhouses, and she is the only female. She is also a ruthless person. Now, that Fang Ping has forced her into a corner. This guy is in big trouble. Ling Huang did not have a good personality. Although she was shrewd, even if she had cultivated to the emperor realm, sometimes women were still very emotional. She knew that continuing to fight was not a good thing, but she had to hold back her anger. She would not be happy until she vented it. It was also Fang Ping's first time fighting a top-notch female powerhouse like Ling Huang, so there was some deviation in his judgment. At this time, it was reasonable to say that both sides should sit down and have a good talk since they had fought to this point. But this time, there was no. Ling Huang was also angry. Now she had her eyes on Fang Ping, and she had to kill him no matter what. This bastard had ruined her plan. Xue Li said worriedly, "Will Qingren be okay?" Fang Ping was also very strong. The strength he displayed now was also at peak break 7, but Ling Huang's strength was probably at peak break 8. The gap between them was actually very big. One's explosive force was less than 20 million calories. The other was close to 40 million calories. If not for the two powerhouses and the rule palm, Fang Ping would definitely lose within 10 moves if he fought Ling Huang one-on-one. There was nowhere to run here. After 100 moves, Ling Huang might kill him, even if there were people holding him back. If this went on, Fang Ping would be targeted by Ling Huang. Xue Li was worried. Celestial Fate thought for a while before saying, "It's hard to say if this guy is a match, but this guy is also ruthless." As soon as he said that, his expression changed. Full defense, just as Celestial Fate and the others were defending with all their might. Fang Ping was also forced into a corner. At this moment, he had a broken leg, and the other leg broke through the air to escape. Behind him, Ling Huang ignored the others and quickly closed in on him, wanting to kill him. Seeing that Ling Huang was about to catch up, Fang Ping's eyes flashed coldly. The next moment, a strong aura of origin came from his body. "Do you really think I'm out of tricks?" At this moment, he ignited this Tao. Saint-level Tao. Boom. Fang Ping's body seemed to be on fire, and the void was burning. The Tao was instantly ignited by him. Fang Ping gritted his teeth and did not fight back. Instead, he broke into Ling Huang's origin. This time, although he did not look at the data, he could feel countless wealth points flowing away. This was an emperor's origin. He was breaking into the emperor's origin. Even if the other party was a clone, it was actually sharing the origin with the main body. On this side, Fang Ping did not even have time to see what was going on when the Spirit Emperor let out a shrill roar and also unleashed his origin. It was terrifyingly powerful. With a rumble, Fang Ping, who had just broken in, did not even have time to slash with his saber before he was completely smashed by the Spirit Emperor. Pfft! Fang Ping spat out blood. His flesh and bones exploded again. At this moment, Fang Ping's eyes were a little disoriented. However, he seemed to have sensed something and said, fiercely, "Attack her origin together. This woman has sealed the connection between her and the main body. Break this seal and let her main body deal with her." He had just broken in. Although he did not have time to take a closer look, he seemed to have sensed the existence of a door. This person had actually forcefully sealed the main body's senses. No wonder she did not know anything about the outside world. The spirit emperors in the outside world were probably suspecting that their clones had already fallen. Fang Ping discovered this and also roared hysterically, asking Sherpa and the others to attack her origin and break the seal. Fang Ping did not believe that the Spirit Emperor's main body would let the clone be so powerful. Even if it was allowed to, some of the Spirit Emperor's clone's plans would be ruined. She still wanted to merge with the main body. Both sides were completely enraged. Fang Ping's injuries were not light at this moment. His bones and flesh had been forged to be extremely strong. After 2 battles, now his bones were damaged by 30%. Moreover, the destruction of the origin also gave Fang Ping a splitting headache. In addition, he had burned his saint-level Tao, and the loss was even more serious. How could Fang Ping accept such a loss? "It's over, it's over." Beside him, the cat's face was full of worry. This was not good. It was no longer a matter of fighting for the boss. Fong Ping had provoked the Spirit Emperor to kill him, but the Spirit Emperor had caused Fong Ping to suffer such heavy losses. Based on Fong Ping's character, even if he really fought to the death, he would not let the Spirit Emperor feel good. Both sides had underestimated the other's persistence and ruthlessness. This time, he was afraid that they would really fight until one side was annihilated. Under the cats, but Third Cat raised its head and was forcefully pressed down by the cat. Third Cat was also worried and meowed. "Big Cat, what should we do? Should we stop the fight?" Since it was Third Cat, there was still a second cat, so it would just call this guy Big Cat. It did not want to fight for the boss. Anyway, it could not beat this cat. The cat was also helpless. Stop the fight. It was not weak now, but there was no hope of it being able to stop these people. After thinking about it, the cat said, "Third Cat, if I throw you in front of the fake fatty, will she beat you to death?" "Meow. You go stop the fake fatty. I'll go stop the liar." Based on the current situation, it was difficult for the cat to judge who would win. Either way, it would not be good. At the end of the battle, even if the side that won would definitely suffer heavy losses. Both sides were completely bloodshot, and now they were fighting with their lives on the line. At this time, both of them were probably not in the mood to think about benefits. Third Cat was a little scared. "Then will I be beaten to death?" The cat said casually, "I don't know, why don't we try?" As it said that, it jumped down, dragged Third Cat's tail, tried, and asked, "Did I throw you in?" It dragged Third Cat's tail and swung it up and down. Third Cat was so scared that its fat face was about to turn white. Throw it in. It would kill the cat. Now that both sides were fighting like this, the four of them tangled together, vitality flowing everywhere. It was just a cat that liked to eat. Would it not be beaten up in an instant? Third Cat, who had been swung around like a flaming wheel, hurriedly said, Big Cat, can you shout? Otherwise, the cat will die." Shout. The cat was deep in thought. Soon it meowed and said, "Stop fighting." Third Cat said that it can smash all of you to death. None of you are a match for it. As soon as it finished speaking, the cat stood on its hind legs and swung Third Cat a few hundred times. With a roar, it threw them out. Boom. Meow. Third Cat's screams were heard. Big Cat was using too much force. It felt like it was about to explode. The shrill meowing made the four people who were fighting in a blood-soaked battle pause. Spirit Emperor frowned. His collarbone was pierced by Sherpu again. Spirit Emperor's collarbone erupted vitality, shattering Sherpo's spear and breaking his arm. At the same time, his palm, which was only left with the bones of his hand, grabbed Sherpo's ankle, crushing it. As for Fong Ping, a sweep of the staff made the flesh on her leg burst open. She also kicked Fong Ping's armor until it caved in again. Both sides paused for a moment. The roar was heard, and Third Cat's screams were getting closer. It was still screaming, Master, Master, help, don't hit the cat." Third Cat thought it was going to die. Spirit Emperor frowned slightly and snorted coldly. His vitality erupted again, forcing Sherpa and the others to retreat again. Spirit Emperor's fleshless right hand broke through the air and grabbed Third Cat, who was flying toward her. On the other side, Fong Ping's staff swept up from below. Just as he was about to hit Spirit Emperor, his shoulder sank. The cat jumped up and curled its tail around the staff. Fong Ping frowned slightly and snorted coldly. He did not force himself to attack again. He took a few steps back and looked at Spirit Emperor, who was holding Third Cat, and said coldly, "I underestimated you." Spirit Emperor's white clothes were stained with blood. She had fought with 3 people and was attacked by rules, so her injuries were not light. At this moment, however, she was still as cold as ever. Her fleshless hand grabbed the 3 cats by the neck and casually tossed them outside. She said coldly, "I have also underestimated you. However, if I can't live, you can forget about leaving this place." The two of them exchanged harsh words, and the cat muttered, "Stop fighting. There's no benefit. Liar. Even if you kill the fake fatty. The fake fatty might destroy the little fish she hid." Spirit Emperor did not comment. In fact, it was true. She had a fiery temper. So how could she let these people take advantage of her? The cat said again, "Fake fatty, if you continue fighting, this big hand will become more and more powerful, and you will die too." The cat became the peacemaker. Fong Ping's face was cold, and he did not say anything. Wan's face was extremely pale at this moment. His flesh had just recovered, and he scolded, "I have to kill this woman even if I have to suffer. Damn it, I have never suffered such a big loss." Many of his bones were broken, and his flesh had exploded a few times. This time, he had really suffered a big loss. However, both sides had calmed down. If they continued fighting, they would both suffer a big loss. Fong Ping exhaled softly, gritted his teeth, and said, 3,000 little fish as a deposit. I won't take it all. Don't expect to get something for nothing. Pay half, and pay another 3,000 after the deed is done." Spirit Emperor looked at him coldly. Fong Ping said coldly, "No." He had suffered a big loss today. His injuries would not be enough to recover without 7 or 8 little fish, especially the recovery of his thigh. He would probably need 10 fish. Moreover, his leg was broken, and he was still a one-legged creature. Fong Ping was also angry from embarrassment. Although Spirit Emperor was also injured, she was not as battered as they were. This made Fong Ping feel extremely unbalanced. Spirit Emperor was still looking at him coldly. She had fought until now, and she also felt the pressure that these people brought to her. However, 3,000 little fish. She had seen those little fish before. One of them was comparable to the vitality of a saint, and 3 was the vitality of a martial artist who had broken through 6 heavenly kings. 10 was probably comparable to a broken 7 heavenly kings. Any more, and it would be even more terrifying. Fong Ping dared to say that he wanted 3,000, 100, pay 30 first, and pay the rest after the deed is done. Kill. When Fong Ping heard this, he raised his long staff and continued fighting. Who were they looking down on? Previously, the cat had used some snacks at Second Cat's place to exchange for a few dozen fish. Now he was beaten up like this, and he still had to help the other party get 100 fish. Did they think he was a beggar? Fong Ping felt that he was being humiliated. The 3 of them would probably have to use up about 20 fish just to heal their injuries. After fighting for a round, the 3 of them could get 10 fish. The cat hooked Fong Ping's staff again, pressed Fong Ping down, and said pitifully, "Don't fight anymore. If you keep fighting, someone will die." Fong Ping panted and said angrily, "Get out of the way, I can't hold it in." "Cat, I gave you face just now and didn't hit her hard. I've already ignited my Tao, and this is the result. If she doesn't die today, then kill me." Spirit Emperor frowned slightly and said coldly, "You ignited your Tao, and now it's almost exhausted, you." Before she finished speaking, Fong Ping grabbed Sherpa. Sherpa frowned slightly and did not dodge. The armor on his body turned into origin again, and Fong Ping entered it instantly. In the blink of an eye, Fong Ping came out. His aura had recovered to its peak, and he was even more powerful. He had 2 Saint Daos. The previous one was ignited, and he quickly changed to another one. At this moment, Fong Ping roared, "I have plenty of Daos. If I want to change, I'll change. If I don't exhaust you to death today, I'll change my surname to yours." Fong Ping was unwilling to waste his previous Tao. At this moment, while the burning power was still there, all the burning power instantly merged into the long staff, and the staff slashed at Spirit Emperor. This strike made both Sherpa and Spirit Emperor feel a sense of danger. Boom! Soon, the energy on Spirit Emperor's side dissipated, revealing her figure. The flesh and blood of her arms had completely disappeared. Only 2 jade-colored arm bones were left. Spirit Emperor's eyes were cold as she looked at Fang Ping. Fang Ping sneered and said, "Does it feel good? It's just burning Dao. I have plenty of it. This is the Saint Dao. Do you want me to burn a heavenly king Dao for you to taste later?" Spirit Emperor frowned. After a while, she said coldly, "Your source world is similar to the cat's." In the blink of an eye, she analyzed some things. Fang Ping could actually replace his Dao and burn it at will. This was not normal. As for whether Fang Ping had a heavenly king Dao or not, she did not want to guess. This person's physical body had already proven to be a heavenly king. The 3 realms had indeed produced a monster. If the origin Dao could really replace the heavenly king Dao, then it would be a 3-fold increase. In addition to the force, after Fang Ping replaced the heavenly king Dao, he might really be able to reach the level of breaking 8. At this time, Spirit Emperor was not as angry as before. She said coldly, "I'll give you 100 of those fish first. After it's done, I'll give you another 200. Hearing this, the cat heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that they were not fighting anymore. Now it was time to haggle. Both sides had fought to the death and felt the pressure. Otherwise, Fang Ping and Spirit Emperor would not have compromised. The cat did not participate anymore. It jumped aside and jumped onto Third Cat's head again. Third Cat was still in a daze. It was almost killed just now. It was too scary. While in a daze, she heard the cat muttering, "Third Cat, I'll knead you into a small fish. I can knead you into dozens of small fish." Third Cat was scared out of its wits. Big Cat wanted to eat me. P.S. Tonight might be the second night. My head is very dizzy. I want to make up for it. Chapter 1332. Even if you give us 3,000, we won't even count on it. Fang Ping silently healed his thigh. A few small fish appeared in his hand, and he pressed them on the wound on his thigh like they were free. Bones gradually grew out, but they were not as strong as before, and they were not as sturdy. Fang Ping lowered his head and healed his injuries. His flesh was also recovering. Not only him, but Li Hansong too. Iron Head was still fused by him, and his injuries were not light. Small fish were used one after another. In the blink of an eye, the 2 of them used 7 or 8 small fish. Luan and Sherpa bared their teeth as they watched. This guy was really extravagant. Fang Ping did not say anything and threw a few small fish out. Sherpa was slightly stunned, but he still took 2 fish. Luan's injuries were more serious, and he took 4. At this moment, Fang Ping had almost used up the small fish that he got from Cat 2 previously. On the opposite side, some of Spirit Emperor's injuries were also disappearing. Both sides were healing their injuries. Underground, Sheng Nen breathed a sigh of relief. On their side, all 3 were not dead. However, King Huai and the others had crushed a few true gods. Their luck was not bad. "Prince, can we go out now?" Water Power also looked at Celestial Polarity. Celestial Polarity's expression was still gloomy as he said in a low voice, "Hold up the defensive shield with all your strength." Fang Ping suffered such a big loss, but Spirit Emperor is not willing to pay the price he wants. It's best if no one comes in now. Once a powerhouse from Fang Ping's side comes in, today's battle will not end. Now both sides were restrained, and there was no benefit to fighting to the end. But if someone came now, then wait and see. Celestial Polarity was still uneasy. He exhaled and said, "Heavenly King subduing King, Weapon God Envoy, and Heavenly Hound better not come. If they do, everyone pray for their own good." Sheng Nan was also terrified. They were almost crushed to death just now. Would another great battle break out? 3,000, 1,000 per person. Fong Ping said calmly, 1,000. 10 is equivalent to a breakthrough 7's vitality, and breakthrough 8 is even stronger. At least 50 is needed to be comparable to a breakthrough 8's vitality. If you want to forge jade bones, you might not succeed even if you cultivate for a lifetime. The vitality required is terrifying. Without the help of the Void Gate, if you want to forge jade bones, you will not be able to without 300. Ling Huang said coldly, "What are you trying to say?" 300 is just barely enough. We still need to fight, recover, and heal, Fong Ping said softly. Moreover, we have to risk our lives for it. 1,000 is really not too much, is it? Wan and Sherpa both looked at Fong Ping. 1,000 was actually too much. 1,000 for 3 people was actually enough. Fong Ping, this guy. Wasn't he afraid that Emperor Ling Huang would turn against him again? At their level, bargaining was actually very rare. Both parties felt that it was about right, so they agreed. Why did Fong Ping have to shout so loudly? Fong Ping did not say anything. His attitude was still considered good, but his conditions were high. There was nothing else. He just wanted to wait. The God Creation Envoy was also breaking through the barrier. He wanted to wait and see if he could wait until they arrived. Let's drag it out for a while. If they really came, then I'll continue to kill this woman. If he didn't come, then the bottom line would be 1,000, and he could agree. Fong Ping wanted to buy time. Spirit Emperor was no fool. Taking a deep look at him, Spirit Emperor, who had been wearing a cold face, suddenly laughed and said, "Interesting, the 3 realms actually have someone like you. Your desire for revenge is even greater than the heavenly hound of the past." Fong Ping wanted to take revenge on her. He was actually stalling for time, waiting for someone to come. Even the heavenly hound, who had offended someone stronger than it back then, did not dare to take revenge. If it wanted to take revenge, it had to be kept in its heart. Fong Ping, on the other hand, really didn't want to take revenge overnight. Fong Ping smiled foolishly and said, "Senior, I don't quite understand what you're saying. 3,000. Senior definitely has them. To be honest, Senior doesn't have to be so stingy. If you win, then you have everything. If you lose, then there's nothing left. Actually, Senior, who has already forged jade bones, doesn't need these things. If that's the case, why don't you give us some? If we become stronger, it will also be beneficial to Senior, right?" Fong Ping said faintly, "Unless Senior is prepared to keep it and continue to bribe some powerhouses. Is this because you don't trust us?" Fong Ping chuckled and said, "Sometimes I'm afraid that there will be internal problems. Senior, it's best if you don't reach an agreement with Hong Kuan and the others. Otherwise, it's easy to cause problems." Spirit Emperor looked at him deeply and suddenly said, 1,500 fish of life. This is also the majority of my accumulation. What's left, I also need to repair my flesh and bones." As she said that, Spirit Emperor quickly said, 500 fish. It's definitely enough for you to forge jade bones. Fong Ping, don't push your luck. Otherwise, even if I'm surrounded and killed by you, you won't get anything. Not only that, the 3 of you, do you really think you can survive? Fong Ping? Sherpa looked at Fong Ping and shouted. His meaning was actually a little clear. Not bad. It was enough to forge jade bones. If that was the case, then he should stop while he was ahead. Spirit Emperor wasn't weak. If he really forced her to fight to the death, Fong Ping wouldn't be able to get away with it. Fong Ping took a deep breath. Sherpa didn't want to fight anymore. Actually, Luan didn't want to fight either. 1,500 fish, 500 fish each. It was enough for both of them to forge jade bones. If that was the case, Then what was the point of fighting? Fang Ping's thoughts turned, and very quickly he smiled and said, "All right, if that's the case, then it's settled." After saying that, Fang Ping looked at Wan and Sherpa, saying slowly, "How about 400 each? It's the kind where one person can eat his fill and the whole family won't starve. I still have a big family to feed behind me." Luan rolled her eyes. "Did you forget about my divine kingdom of chaos?" Fang Ping laughed in spite of himself. He really forgot. "Then Luan will give you 500 senior Sherpa. Can you give me less? What do you think?" Sherpa was just one person. It wasn't really useful to have more. Of course, more was a good thing. Fang Ping thought for a while and said, "I can use origin energy or imperishable substances to exchange with you, senior. I need these more. After all, King Wu hasn't forged jade bones yet." "You humans are doing a jade bone wholesale business." Just a random sentence. It was really good. Li Hansong, Cat, Fang Ping, King Wu, and even the God Creation Envoy, as well as suppressing Heavenly King. How many jade bone realms were the humans going to make? Spirit Emperor interrupted. "Since that's the case, you three can break through now." Fang Ping's eyes flickered, and he glanced at Spirit Emperor. Spirit Emperor said coldly, "Do you think I will let you forge jade bones here and continue to be enemies with me? If you take my things, then you will have to do what you did before." Fang Ping narrowed his eyes, paused, and said quickly, "Okay." He had some guesses. Spirit Emperor agreed too quickly. It was a little different from before. Could it be that she felt that someone was coming? Otherwise, with Spirit Emperor's personality, would she agree to give Fang Ping and the others 1,500 small fish so easily? Fang Ping was still thinking. Spirit Emperor said coldly, "The three of you can leave now." As she said that, she waved her hand, and a passage appeared in the void. This time, the passage was clearer than the previous checkpoints. Fang Ping said slowly, "Where is the thing?" "Step on the passage. I will give it to you. I am different from you. I will never break my promise." Spirit Emperor was not stupid, now that she had given it to them. If the three of them did not leave, she could not force them to leave. However, as long as they stepped on the passage, she could teleport them away at any time. Fang Ping was more and more certain that someone was coming. Unfortunately, Spirit Emperor sensed it. At this moment, she was forcing them to leave. They were discussing. Shengnan and the others listened with jealousy. It felt so good. Not only did she give them good things, but she also wanted to send them away. They had no choice but to leave. They had tried everything they could to clear the checkpoints. "It's a pity that we have to continue feeding the cats," Shang Nan lamented. Sky's gaze was solemn. He glanced at Shui, Li, and Shang Nan and transmitted his voice. "Step on the passage together later. Remember, you must be fast. You must be fast. If you are not fast, you will die the moment Spirit Emperor teleports. Remember, you must enter the passage and teleport away." Sky's expression was extremely solemn at this moment. That idiot Shang Nan was still envious. These people were actually discussing this in front of them. Obviously, they had reached an agreement. Moreover, Spirit Emperor was unbelievably strong. What did this mean? Trouble. Sky was not stupid. Silence them. They were in big trouble. At this moment, Fang Ping shouted, "Shui Li, let's go together." Shui Li's eyes moved slightly, looking at Sky. Sky hurriedly transmitted his voice. "Don't mention what we just did. Don't mention my purpose. I did not give up on you just now. Just keep quiet." Fang Ping telling Shui Li to go proved everything. Sky cursed in his heart. That bastard Fang Ping did not bring him along. He vaguely remembered that his cheap old man had asked Fang Ping to take care of him. Bastard. Fang Ping did not forget, but he was not too worried about Sky's safety. Spirit Emperor wanted to occupy the real body and would not offend too many emperors. Sky was emperor, she's son. Emperor, she was not dead yet. At most, Spirit Emperor could trap him in this level. She would not kill him. If that was the case, he could not be bothered to say anything. Spirit Emperor was constantly urging them to leave, and her attitude was getting more and more unyielding. If they did not leave, there might be another war. Fong Ping called Shui Li over and did not say anything else. Spirit Emperor's control over this level was beyond his expectations. What could she possibly be doing? Could she be stopping someone from breaking through the barrier? Otherwise, it would be difficult for her to sense anything in advance and stop the other party from coming. Fong Ping's guess was not wrong. At this moment, in one of the passages, Heavenly Hound growled impatiently. Why is it taking so long? This level's teleportation is too slow. Is it wasting my time? It was getting a little impatient. How long had it been? Why did it feel like the teleportation had stopped? Roar. A fierce roar was heard. Heavenly Hound stepped forward, raising its head and looking at the passage in front. Why did it feel like it was blocked? Was it not moving? Heavenly Hound was a little annoyed. Could there be a problem with the teleportation passage here? It did not know how to fix it. If it did not know how to fix it, was it going to be trapped here forever? Bang! Heavenly Hound swallowed the energy ball and blasted it forward. The passage in front trembled. Heavenly Hound was a little surprised. It was just impatient and hit it casually. Could it be that the passage was blocked? Heavenly Hound shook its head. If that was the case, it could continue moving after hitting it a few more times. Bang! Heavenly Hound spat out the vitality ball again, blasting it forward. As expected in the passage, it felt that it could continue moving forward. Heavenly Hound was satisfied. At least it was not blocked. Otherwise, what would it do if it was trapped here? Although the speed was a little slow, it was fine as long as it could reach it. It could not fight blindly. If it broke through the passage again, who knew where it would be teleported to? Spirit Emperor's body trembled slightly. Her expression did not change. Above her, however, the power of the rule was condensing rapidly. She was breaking the rules. Fong Ping looked sideways. Spirit Emperor's eyes were cold. Go up the passage. Fong Ping, I've given you the thing. Why aren't you leaving? Do you really want me to go all out? She still had some restraint, because the power of the rule had been targeting her. The more she unleashed, the greater the suppression. But now she was impatient. Fong Ping still wanted to continue at this time. Luan and Sherpa looked at each other. Sherpa coughed dryly and said, Fong Ping, let's go first. We'll talk after we've forged the jade bones. Since they had already gotten the thing, there was not much meaning in continuing to fight. Fong Ping was a vengeful person. Why would he insist on doing something that did not benefit him? Fong Ping nodded and said no more. In his heart, however, he felt that it was not that he was vengeful, but that it was better to prevent trouble before it happened. As they walked toward the passage, Fong Ping transmitted his voice. Both of you, take it easy. She said that she's working with us now, but that might not be true. Once she joins forces with the Tao Tree, 2 breakthroughs. What's the point of fighting? Fong Ping suspected that Spirit Emperor might not really be working with them. Otherwise, why did she not show up earlier? It was only when Fong Ping and the others were too aggressive that this woman showed up. Actually, this was not an intention to work together. Otherwise, Spirit Emperor would have taken the initiative to show up when breakthroughs entered. The Tao Tree had been here in the past. Who knew if it had reached an agreement with Spirit Emperor? Spirit Emperor asked the few of them to help the Tao Tree break through the barrier, and then attack after breaking through. This might be a delaying tactic. Fong Ping would not see Spirit Emperor as a good person. In any case, from the moment Spirit Emperor broke his leg, he felt that Spirit Emperor was evil. As soon as he said that, the two of them did not reply, nor did they refute. But they did not dare to not take it seriously. This was not impossible. They still had to be careful. Spirit Emperor seemed to be working with them now, but who knew if it was true or not? The moment one of his feet stepped into the passage, Fang Ping turned to look at Spirit Emperor. Spirit Emperor was also looking at him, his expression turning colder and colder. He said coldly, "Put it down." Fang Ping played dumb. "Senior, it's time to give it to us." "Put it down." Spirit Emperor was a little angry. At this moment, Sherpa seemed to notice something and looked toward Fang Ping. What he saw made him dumbfounded. The cat's mouth was bulging. At this moment, it was climbing up Fang Ping's leg with great effort. Fang Ping held the cat in his hand, looking at it with an encouraging expression. Spirit Emperor looked at Fang Ping, not at Fang Ping, but at the cat. "Put it down." Spirit Emperor seemed a little angry. The cat looked aggrieved. The next moment, it opened its mouth wide and spat out a huge fat ball. It said pitifully, "Third cat wanted to go with me." "Why are you so fierce?" Third cat fell to the ground and rolled all over the ground. Soon, it rolled to the feet of Spirit Emperor, its fat face also aggrieved. "No, nonsense. Big Cat lied. I didn't say that I would go with you. Big Cat swallowed me in one bite and wanted to take me away. Fortunately, I was discovered by my master. Otherwise, I would have become Big Cat's food." Spirit Emperor was also very angry. Why was this cat so cheap now? Third cat. Bah, what third cat? How could my cat go with you? She was a clone, not the original. The original might like the cat more, but she and third cat were really close. She was the one who raised this fat cat. She was not the one who raised the gray cat. Seeing that the cat had abandoned third cat, Spirit Emperor was no longer angry. He glanced at them coldly and casually tossed a jade bottle to them. Fang Ping caught it in his hand and smiled. Before he could speak, his vision went black, and he was teleported in an instant. At this moment, underground, for figures were extremely fast. They were even burning their vitality and flesh to escape. Buzz. For figures arrived in front of the passage almost at the same time. Spirit Emperor was about to make a move when a big hand suddenly slammed down from the sky. She had violated the rules. She had trapped Tengu for some time. At this moment, the rules finally came. Humph! Spirit Emperor snorted. The void exploded. The four figures spurted blood at the same time, but they did not care. The four rushed into the passage and disappeared. In addition to Skypole and Shengnan, King Huai and Yuan Gang also rushed out in an instant. The four of them were afraid that they would be silenced. Once the four of them ran, the rest were miserable. Without the heavenly kings and saints, the power of the rules came. Spirit Emperor could not help them defend at all. This was a punishment for breaking the rules. The power of the rules comparable to Breaking 8 erupted on the spot. No one stopped them. How could those true gods and emperors be lucky enough to escape? Almost instantly, those people underground were all turned into powder in the blink of an eye. At the same time, Spirit Emperor suddenly disappeared. The next moment, a dog barked. Why is it taking so long? What the hell? The big golden dog broke through the air, a little depressed. What was going on this time? The teleportation time was extremely slow. As soon as the result came out, there was a loud bang. The power of the rules that had not completely dissipated previously hit its head for the last time. Boom! Tengu fell to the ground. Its dog face was blank, followed by anger. Who did this king provoke? Why was it struck as soon as it arrived? At the same time, Tengu saw a ball in its eyes. No, a pig? No, what was this thing? Big dog. Cat 3 lay on the ground and asked curiously. It also had some memories, but not much. It remembered Tengu. Big dog was struck. How pitiful. Tengu was stunned for a moment. It did not even care to settle the score with the power of the rules. It stared at Cat 3. This was a cat? F***CK. How did cats look like this? Deformed? Pig. Stupid cat? Wrong, Cat 3. Cat 3 corrected itself. It was no longer a stupid cat. It was now called Cat 3. In the past, people called it Cat 3. Now that there was a big cat called Cat 3, it would be better to call it Cat 3. Tengu continued to be stunned. This aura was the aura of a cat. But how did this cat grow into a ball? Tengu got up and stared at Cat 3. Cat 3 also looked at it. Tengu quickly said, "Stupid cat, is this part of that old woman's trial?" Boom. Thunder rose. Tengu raised its head and swallowed the thunder in one gulp. Looking at the dilapidated building, it asked curiously, "There is no one here? Was it destroyed by someone?" There seemed to be a big battle here. It also smelled some blood. Its nose twitched. Tengu looked in the direction of the small building. Over there, on the top of the dilapidated building, a white figure flashed and didn't meet Tengu. Tengu bared its teeth and was a little dissatisfied, but it didn't care too much. It looked at Cat 3 and patted its head with its paw. Then it pressed it to the ground and stepped on it a few times. Suddenly it grinned and said, "Stupid cat, you have become fat. It feels so good to step on you." Cat 3 was almost trampled to death. It stuck out its tongue and looked confused and innocent. Why are they all beating cats? Big cats beat me. Big dogs beat me too. How do I pass this trial? Feed the cat. Cat 3 was an honest cat. It replied, "Feed the cat. When the cat is happy eating, you can leave." Feed the cat. Tengu said unhappily, "Feed you? Why? You should just feed me." Cat 3 felt wronged, but that was the rule. Tengu slapped Cat 3 away and jumped to the top of the building. It looked around and shouted, "Bitch, come out. You dared to kill me in the past. This time, I am here to take revenge. I will swallow you, bitch, and bite you to death." Tengu roared, extremely arrogant. He was a little proud that he could take revenge. In the void, Spirit Emperor's eyes were gloomy. Another one. Fortunately, he had sent Fong Ping and the others away. Otherwise, when Tengu arrived, Fong Ping did not have to say anything, and Tengu would join the battle immediately. Sure enough, a thorn was still a thorn. After so many years, this dog had not changed. Woof! Tengu roared again and said, arrogantly, "Don't hide. How dare you break my dog's leg? I will break your leg today. Watching you bathe is showing you respect. How dare you chase me away? Today, I will say it here. Today, you will bathe here. I will watch here. If I am satisfied, I will not bite you to death." Spirit Emperor did not plan to continue showing up. At this moment, she could not help it anymore. She was also holding back her anger. She was already uncomfortable before. Now, this anger had reached an extreme. Tengu, hateful, hateful. It deserved to be killed. What was it saying? Let me bathe here and watch until it is satisfied. It was blaspheming the emperor. Downstairs, Cat 3 thought for a while and also began to dig a hole. Those people dug holes previously were still safe. It dug a hole and buried itself. If it had known this would happen, it would have been better to go with Big Cat. Why was Big Dog so stupid? Did it want to die? Cat 3 could not understand. Cat 3 had just buried itself in the ground when in the void, thousands of swords shot out. This time, there were no 3 people. Previously, the 3 of them worked together and could only barely block Spirit Emperor. Moreover, They were all heavily injured. At this moment, facing Tengu, a breaking 8, Spirit Emperor had completely displayed his strength. Uffed. Countless sharp swords hit Tengu in an instant, sparks flying everywhere. Tengu cried out in pain, a little surprised. How could it be so strong? It should not be. There was no time to think. The heavenly hound bit towards the Spirit Emperor. The Spirit Emperor instantly burst forth with strength at the peak of breaking 8. At the same time, a huge hand appeared. It was the hand of rules. The Spirit Emperor directly pulled the huge hand into the heavenly hound's mouth. It was not Fong Ping. Fong Ping could avoid the power of the rule, but Tengu could not. This time, an incomparably shrill scream was heard. Spirit Emperor suddenly felt very good. He had long disliked this dog. Today, it still dared to blaspheme him. He would beat this stupid dog to death. This doesn't make sense. Tengu screamed. This really didn't make sense. How could it be so strong? Before he came in, he did not have a bad feeling. What was going on? Could it be that the threat he felt earlier was given to him by this Spirit Emperor? Tengu understood a little, but also felt a little sad. Why did he end up at Spirit Emperor's level? If he had known, he would have gone to Celestial Emperor Batian and played with him. What bad luck! P.S. My brain is not clear. Let's call it a day. Chapter 1333. Fong Ping did not see Tengu enter Spirit Emperor's level. Of course, he knew that someone must have entered that level. Otherwise, Spirit Emperor would not have driven them away in a hurry. Buzz. The sound of a bubble bursting was heard. In the next moment, Fong Ping and the others entered a new level. Fong Ping did not even look at it. He roughly knew where this level was. Destroy. Yes, according to the situation, this should be the level of celestial annihilation. Beside him, there were also people. Sherpa, Luan, Cat, and Ironhead were also there. However, some people from Celestial Polarity were not there, because someone had passed the level of celestial annihilation in advance. For example, Yuan Gang had teleported in a different direction from Fong Ping and the others, including King Huai. However, when they teleported away, they seemed to be in a good mood. They were finally separated from Fong Ping, that god of plague. The main hall, a familiar main hall. Skeleton Ironhead looked around and said in surprise, Hall of Myriad Origins. Little dark room. Cat muttered, wasn't this the little dark room? Celestial Annihilation's Hall of Myriad Origins. Fong Ping and the others were familiar with this place. Fong Ping glanced around. The main hall was similar to the Hall of Myriad Origins he saw before. There were many small compartments, very deep. If celestial annihilation was there, he would be in the depths, which was where the 3 main halls were. Fong Ping was not in a hurry to go there. He casually divided the small jade bottle in his hand into 3. Spirit Emperor did not like to eat fish. Of course, he would not make it look like a fish. It was just the condensation of vitality. He threw 1 to Luan and 1 to Sherpa. Sherpa had slightly less. Luan, sensed for a while, rubbed his chin and said, Kid, did you give me less? For 196 small fishes. Is that right? Fong Ping looked surprised. He did not get it wrong. Luan was about to speak when Sherpa said quietly, What are you thinking? Didn't I just give you 4 fish to recover? Do you want more? Luan was speechless. What the hell? Fong Ping was really despicable. He still remembered this. I thought you were giving it to me, for free. Fong Ping could not be bothered with him. He looked at Sherpa and said with a smile, Senior, I will give you some imperishable substance and origin chi later. Sherpa had a few, about 400. Fong Ping had the most, 600. This amount was enough for 2 or 3 people to forge their jade bones. Otherwise, these people would have to break down the door to forge their jade bones. large amounts of life force would surge out from behind the door. Sherpa and Juan hadn't reached this level yet. Even if they reached the level of breaking the gate, they might not be able to break the gate of life. The gate of life was usually the last gate to be broken. Sherpa did not say much. He weighed the small jade bottle in his hand and felt rather emotional. He said with a light smile, "If it were me, I would probably leave after feeding the cat. How could there be any other rewards? As expected, I still need to explore more of these checkpoints. Even if I don't get anything this time, it's already beyond my expectations." Sherpa was really emotional. Previously, he had only sensed that something was wrong here, so he followed the Tengu here. When he came in, no one had brought him in, and he had finally managed to sneak in with a monarch clone. Now that he had obtained so much life force, he would have no problem breaking through to 8. Forging jade bones might not allow him to break through to the 8th rank, but it would definitely give him the battle prowess to do so. Once he broke through to the 8th rank, the first gate he broke was the Gate of Life. His combat strength would be stronger than ordinary powerhouses who broke through 1 gate. Even if he was not as strong as a powerhouse who broke through 2 gates, he would still be able to close the gap quickly. On the other side, Luan was also quite excited. He had earned big this time. Sherpa thought for a while and said, "I forgot to tell you earlier. When I came in with a monarch clone. I'm not too sure which monarch it is exactly. It's probably the emperor." Fang Ping smiled. "I met it at the emperor's level previously." Sherpa pondered for a while, but still said it might not be the emperor. "Anyway, I don't think it looks like the emperor. I've seen the 9 emperors many times. It doesn't look like it. It looks more like Dong Huang. Anyway, just be careful." Fang Ping's pupils contracted slightly. "Not the emperor? Dong Huang?" Sherpa shook his head and said, "I'm just guessing. These guys made a clone instead of their actual bodies. It's hard to guess their strength." "Oh yeah, that guy at least has the strength to break through 2 gates. Because you need to break through 3 gates to enter. There are 3 martial artists who broke through 1 gate, or 1 powerhouse who broke through 3 gates and 9 gates. At that time, I was with that guy. Although I wasn't far from breaking through 1 gate, this guy brought me in. This means that he has broken through at least 2 gates. I'm afraid he has also made considerable progress on the 3rd gate." As soon as he said that, Luan could not help but complain. "These guys, what are they trying to do by making clones come in 1 by 1? "Fang Ping, what are you talking about?" Cough, cough. Fang Ping coughed softly, interrupting him. He smiled and said, "This place isn't like the Spirit Emperor's level. She's in charge there. No one can monitor anything. It's better to talk less about these things here. Why are you speaking so loudly? If you have something to say it through voice transmission." When he said that, Sherpa also said disdainfully, "You've lived for almost 10,000 years. You don't even know how to keep a single secret." Juan snorted. "As if you're not." However, he felt that Sherpa's temper was quite to his liking. He did not flip out. If it were someone else, he would have flipped out. Fang Ping smiled and said, "Both of you, why don't you try forging jade bones now? Do it 1 by 1. The others will protect you to prevent others from taking advantage of you. Both of you have forged jade bones. Even if you don't overdraft, you already have the combat strength of Breaking 8. Breaking 8 is the real capital to dominate in the 3 realms. Even if the Emperor's clones come, you can still fight them. If the Emperor doesn't appear, Breaking 8 is the supreme powerhouse. Fang Ping congratulates both of you in advance. Supreme powerhouse, Breaking 8. These 2 people ranked extremely high in the previous ranking of Breaking 7. One was ranked 1st, and the other was ranked 5th. Of course, Wan's rank of 5th was actually not that far from the rest. Fang Ping comforted Wan in his heart. It's okay. You just have to break 8 in advance. However, among those who broke 7, many people were going to break 8 this time. Luan, Sherpa, Li Zhu, King Qian, Heavenly King Yi was killed. Now, there was still the Palm Imprint envoy, King Wu, and Moon Spirit, who had disappeared after leaving the North Emperor's level. The powerhouses who broke 7 in the 3 realms were even fewer now. Of course, they might have to include Fang Ping and Old Cat. Fang Ping suddenly laughed and lamented. If we make it out alive this time, there will be more than 10 people who broke 8. There are only a few who broke 7. I wonder if there will be more people who broke 6. The distribution of combat strength was not balanced. The stronger the person, the fewer. However, the accumulation of tens of thousands of years in the 3 realms had also allowed these people to advance to the realm of the supreme powerhouses. Wan was not in the mood for this. He did not care about this. Looking around, he thought for a while and said, "Kid, you go first. We'll break 8 in the blink of an eye. Let's see how effective you are first." Fang Ping laughed. "Then I won't stand on ceremony. I'll cultivate well this time. I'll have to trouble the 2 seniors to protect me. In this place, people could appear at any time. Moreover, there might be people in this level of Annihilate Emperor. Although he did not look, this level would not be empty. However, Fang Ping and the others were together, so they did not care. No matter who was here, unless the Emperor's true body came, they would not be afraid even if they joined forces. Fang Ping began to cultivate, honing. At the same time, deep in the basilica, Feng Songbei Huang had broken through. At this moment, he was kneeling on the ground, like a student staring at a person sitting cross-legged on the stone platform in front of him. Feng's gaze was slightly complicated. He was called the first seed of the 4 emperors, but he mainly listened to Annihilate Emperor. On the stone platform, the person sitting cross-legged was Mia. Looking at Mia, Feng's gaze became more and more complicated. Soon, it became determined. He bowed slightly and said softly, "Master, Feng only wants to ask one thing today. I hope Master can answer my doubts." Mia opened his eyes slowly, his expression cold. Among the 4 emperors, he was the coldest, but he had the most disciples. It was also rare. "Speak." Mia's voice was cold and emotionless. Feng lowered his head and said slowly, "In the past, Master once said that one can fight an emperor at the peak of 1 Tao. Now, the rules of the 3 realms have changed, but there are 3 more virtual gates. Only by breaking 3 gates can one break 9. I don't want to stay in the realm of breaking 8, but I can't break the other 2 gates at this moment. Feng wants to learn from Master and break the extreme Tao of spiritual consciousness first. Once I've proven the Tao of breaking through 9, I'll break the physical and blood Tao. I hope Master can answer my doubts. How can I break through 9 and prove the Tao?" Virtual gate. Mia seemed to be recalling something. He pondered for a moment and said slowly, "You don't want to walk the omnipotent Tao. You have to understand that the extreme Tao can't prove the Tao and become an emperor. It's because the extreme Tao suppresses the other Taos. You want to break through 9 with 1 Tao, but your origin power is lacking and your power is out of balance. After breaking through 9, it'll be even more difficult to make up for the deficiency." Mia continued, "In the past, Celestial Emperor Baishan's physical body was too powerful, so his spiritual consciousness couldn't improve. It was the same for me. My spiritual consciousness was too powerful, so my physical body couldn't break through. On the other hand, my spiritual consciousness is inferior to mine, and my physical body is inferior to Celestial Emperor Batian, but it's relatively balanced. He's inferior to us in terms of Tao, but his path is faster and more stable. Feng sighed. Back then, I was also ambitious. I wanted to prove the omnipotent Tao. I wanted to become an emperor, but the more I cultivated, the more lost and dispirited I became. Feng said bitterly, the omnipotent Tao is too difficult. After so many years, my blood qi has only broken through 6 levels, my bones have only broken through 9 levels, and my physical body is only 7 levels. As he spoke, Feng's face was full of bitterness and sorrow. He lowered his head and said, now, the 3 realms are in chaos. I can only give up on my past thoughts. I want to prove the extreme Tao and break through 9 levels. Please enlighten me, Master. Sigh. Nia also let out a long sigh and said softly, extreme Tao, success comes from the extreme Tao, and failure comes from the extreme Tao. But it's also good. Although the extreme Tao is not as good as the Emperor Tao, it has fewer restrictions. Back then, Zhan had a chance to become an emperor, but he gave up in the end. Maybe he was right. At this moment, Mia revealed a secret. Feng's expression changed slightly. Could Celestial Emperor Zhan become an emperor back then? Then why did he give up? Zhan's blood qi was extremely powerful in the extreme Tao. If he could break through 9 levels in all other aspects, he could break through together and become an emperor. Even if Zhan couldn't become the first emperor, he could still be among the top 3 emperors. Feng fell into deep thought. Mia stopped talking about this and said slowly, the omnipotent Tao. He had just said a few words when Mia suddenly looked straight ahead. There was a wall in front of him, but it could not block his line of sight. He seemed to have seen Feng Ping and the others. Soon his line of sight shifted, and in the next moment he saw someone. Iron Head. Fool. Doppelganger? Or a descendant? Celestial Emperor Zhan frowned slightly. He continued talking, but only Feng could hear him. Fat cat, I keep feeling like someone is watching me. Skeleton Iron Head patted the cat, looking uneasy. He kept feeling that someone was spying on him, harboring malicious intentions. The cat lay on the ground, too lazy to care. It did not like this place very much. The little dark room was not a good place. Back then, Big Blackface even wanted to lock it in the little dark room to cultivate. It was terrible. When the liar is done cultivating later, I'll let him beat Big Blackface to death. The cat thought about this and started to miss Second Cat and Third Cat. Second Cat had food to eat, and Third Cat could ride. After this, he did not know if he could see them again. As he thought about this, he glanced at Feng Ping. The more he looked, the more curious he became. Why was the liar smoking? Feng Ping was smoking. This time, he was forging jade bones, but it was different from the continuous forging of jade bones that others imagined. Right now, Feng Ping was not forging jade bones on the original foundation. Instead, he was burning. Yes, he was using countless imperishable substances to ignite and burn his bones. Of course, it could not be seen from the outside. Right now, Feng Ping was also ferocious. He was burning himself from the inside out, starting from the bone marrow. Originally, Feng Ping had already forged his bones at 85%. With a little more time, he could achieve jade bones. However, at this moment, Feng Ping chose to reforge his bones. When he was weak, the system could directly forge his bones. At that time, in order to speed up the progress, he let the system directly forge his bones instead of himself painstakingly forging his bones. After that, in order to speed up the bone honing process, he had always used the imperishable substances exchanged from the system to forge his bones. This time, after obtaining a large amount of vitality, Feng Ping suddenly had a strange idea. Before this, he was thinking about forging a doppelganger. The matter of the doppelganger could continue, but his body needed to be remodeled. He wanted to reforge his bones. Right now, he did not lack vitality energy, or ferociousness. His bones, which were about to reach jade bones, were terrifyingly tough. They could not be broken easily. It would take a huge amount of energy to shatter these bones. Right now, Fong Ping was burning a large amount of imperishable substances, using the imperishable substances as a source of charcoal to burn his bones. Fong Ping was smoking. Sherpa and Luan could see something. Both of them looked at each other, slightly shocked. This kid was really ferocious. At their level, everything that they cultivated was not easy. Fong Ping's bones were much stronger than theirs, but this kid was actually burning his bones. One had to know that when Spirit Emperor chased after him for a long time, he only broke one of Fong Ping's legs. This guy was actually burning himself. This was also an extremely painful thing, burning his own bones, bit by bit. This kind of pain, even to them, made them shudder. The stronger the bones, the harder it was to destroy. However, once it was destroyed, it was also extremely painful. Sherpa frowned and transmitted his voice. This kid is very ferocious, but is there a need to do this? Luan thought for a while and said, "You and I both know that this kid's cultivation is not normal, and he knows it himself. I'm afraid he also felt that it was not right, so he burned his bones, wanting to start over. If he is not careful, his jade bones will be completely burned, and then it will be ruined. Even if he reforged it, he might not be able to forge it. If the control of the strength is in place, it can still be done. This guy does not lack vitality." Burning bones was not something that anyone could do. If he used too much strength, with a poof, the bones would be completely burned, and he would lose half his life. If the burning strength was not enough, you could burn the front, and the back would recover on its own. Therefore, there was still a very high requirement for the control of strength. While burning, repair, use new energy to repair, no more, no less, to avoid problems with the reforged bones. On the other side, Sky Fate transmitted Sheng Nan glanced at the smoking Fong Ping and hurriedly transmitted his voice. "Go, let's break through first. Don't go through with this bastard again. This bastard suddenly reforged his bones here. His ambition is huge. Maybe he wants to escape from some people's control in this ungoverned area. Anyway, nothing good comes out of following him. Let's break through and leave first." Sheng Nan did not understand and asked, "Prince, is there really someone behind him controlling him?" "Nonsense," Sky Fate said quickly. "Breaking through Peak 7 in 3 years. Why don't you go and try? This kid has never lacked those cultivation resources. He snatched some, but there are also many that he did not snatch. Those countless imperishable substances, origin chi, they all have no source. Where did they come from? These things may all carry other people's life imprint. If so, then it will almost permeate his entire body. If this kid is unlucky one day, he will be harvested by someone. Now this guy is reforging his bones, maybe to avoid this." Sheng Nan was shocked and said urgently, "Your Highness, who do you think is secretly controlling him? Breaking through Peak 7 in 3 years, and even breaking through Peak 8 soon, this is not something that ordinary people can do. Even a sovereign would find it difficult. It has something to do with this guy, not entirely because of outsiders. This guy is ruthless enough, resolute enough, and cunning enough. That's why his cultivation speed is so fast. If it was a sovereign, he might have attacked him before breaking through Peak 9. If it was me, if the chess piece I set was ruthless and powerful, I would not be at ease. I would definitely take back the chess piece when I can control it. That's why the other party will definitely attack when Fong Ping is weaker than him, and he can't get too close to me. Of course, if it's a stronger guy, like the Emperor God, maybe he will delay a little and attack him when he breaks through Peak 9? Celestial Fate was not too sure, saying as he walked, "Don't bother about this kid. It's hard for him to die, even if you die. If he dies, he won't do anything good before he dies. Anyway, it's best to stay away from him." With Fong Ping's personality, if he was really harvested by someone, he would still bite them before he died. Celestial fate had better stay away, lest he was implicated by Fang Ping, lest he became Fang Ping's funerary object. This guy was ruthless to his enemies, even more ruthless to himself. Burning his bones, celestial fate shuddered at the thought of it, and he could not bear to do it. Honestly, at Fang Ping's level of cultivation, who would really bear to do this? If this body of bones that were almost jade were really burned away, would it not be a great loss? Drip, sweat dripped around Fang Ping's body. The flesh was still there. There was no movement. The more it was so, the more it proved that his strength control was superb. Under such a painful environment, he could actually control his strength to not leak. Burn it! Fang Ping's heart was calm, and he was determined. This body was his. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he was not willing to give it up. Last time when he self-destructed his flesh, he already felt that something was wrong. Frequently, self-destructing his flesh and injuring his flesh was probably not a good thing. This time, recasting the bones was also to eliminate some flaws in the bones. Chi, a wisp of energy flame, out of control, emerged from his shoulder instantly, turning his flesh into ashes. Fang Ping hurriedly abandoned other thoughts, focusing on controlling his strength, continuing to burn the bones. Piece by piece, the bones were burned. At this moment, he was still burning the bones of his limbs and torso. Although it was difficult to burn these bones, Fang Ping could still control it. The most important thing was actually the skull. Fang Ping's heart was heavy. The skull was the core. If the skull was not recast, recasting the other bones would actually be useless. Burning the skull was the most crucial moment. A little carelessness would cause a big problem. As the bones were burning, Fang Ping was also recasting. Fang Ping recast the 206 bones in the human body, one by one. Each recasting consumed a lot of vitality. A small fish was comparable to the vitality of a saint. As for Fang Ping, recasting each bone would consume at least one fish. And this was before he had achieved jade bones. Fang Ping was not in a hurry to recast the bones piece by piece. He planned to recast the whole body before he went to forge the jade bones. This way, his bones could be more perfect and round. One piece, two pieces, very soon, other than the 29 bones in the skull. Fang Ping's other bones were recast. As for vitality, he had consumed at least the amount of more than 200 small fish. These actually could have been omitted. If Fang Ping did not recast the bones, perhaps 100 small fish would be enough for him to forge jade bones. Moreover, Fang Ping had also burned a lot of imperishable substances. The wealth consumed was also in the tens of billions. I've reached the skull. Fang Ping took a deep breath. The skull recast had begun. This was more difficult than before. If he was not careful, perhaps even his mentality would be burned, his mentality and flesh would collapse. Even if his origin was still there, he would be finished. It's okay. I've already gone through a lot of trouble. Can I still kill myself? Fang Ping laughed. Under the solemn gaze of the others, on top of Fang Ping's skull, a flame suddenly appeared. Rumble! The flames soared to the sky. Luan's eyelids were also trembling, sending a voice transmission. This kid is really ruthless. Motherf asterisk her. Recast the skull too. Isn't he afraid of burning himself to death? Sherpa licked his lips, sending a voice transmission back. Ruthless is ruthless, but if he really succeeds, the rewards will not be small. If this guy is really controlled by someone behind the scenes, then it will be much more difficult. If he's capable, he can even burn his spiritual consciousness. You don't say, this guy's spiritual consciousness is just not strong enough now. If it's strong enough, I guess he will really dare to do this. Luan was unconvinced. Then burn his origin too. It's hard to say. His Tao is broken. He can change it at will. Do you think he won't dare to do this? After thinking about it, he felt a little disappointed. That was true. This guy was really ruthless. The Tao collapsed at will. The bones burned at will. It did not seem strange to burn mentality and origin one day. Ah, a scream was heard, shaking the hall of myriad origins. Fong Ping's shrill scream was heard. Luan and the others thought that something had happened, but when they looked, it was nothing serious. Fong Ping's head was just a little red from the burn. However, Fong Ping was in unbearable pain at this time. Before this, he was still holding it in, wanting to be Guan Yunchang, who scraped his bones to heal his wounds. However, thinking about it, he was countless times more ruthless than Guan Yunchang, countless times more painful. Previously, in order to pretend to be ruthless, he did not make a sound. But now, it was 2F * King painful. No, he could not take it anymore. Ah, Fong Ping screamed, then suddenly roared, Emperor God, I will F * CK, your ancestors. Emperor, your whole family is dog sh * T. Fong Ping could not take it anymore. At this moment, he could only start cursing madly to divert his attention. A punch landed on the ground, causing the hall of myriad origins to tremble. Fong Ping bombarded punch after punch. He cursed again and again, starting from the emperor all the way to the broken 8, in order. Rumble! Seal, you stupid thing. I asked you to give me the Seal of Heaven technique, and you gave it to me. Why are you so F * King stupid? I've had enough of you. Inside, Fong let out a long sigh. He noticed Fong Ping and also sensed that someone was protecting him. If not for someone protecting him, he would have gone out and beaten Fong Ping to death. This was too much. He took his cultivation method, and now he was still cursing him. Did this guy have any shame? Opposite him, Miet continued to look in that direction, his eyes twinkling. He seemed to have seen something and was silent for a long time. This guy was recasting his bones. Chapter 1334. Boom. Flames rose. The inextinguishable flames burned the void. Fong Ping's screams suddenly stopped. He quickly focused, not daring to be distracted by his screams. Meow. The cat was initially lying on its stomach, still calm. Suddenly, it meowed suspiciously, crawled up, and walked toward Fong Ping. After circling around Fong Ping, the cat's gaze gradually turned from suspicion to fear. Liar! Did something happen? Beside them, Sherpa and Luan did not pay attention at first. This fellow had been cursing for a while. Now that it was done, they did not care. However, when the cat circled around Fong Ping, they also felt something was wrong. What was going on? Liar! The cat shouted, extending its claws. After some thought, it tapped Fong Ping's head lightly. Bang! Sparks flew everywhere. The cat's claws were ignited. The cat shook its claws in pain, but its face was blank. Then it looked at Sherpa and Luan hurriedly. Beside them, Li Hansong also hurried over, asking anxiously, What's wrong with him? Sherpa stepped over, his mentality overflowing. Just as he was about to get closer to pry into Fong Ping's problem, he suddenly let out a low grunt and retracted his mentality. Sherpa frowned. This fellow, did he ignite his mentality? As soon as he said that, Luan also walked over, frowning. Brain nucleus. Sherpa reacted quickly, saying hurriedly, Did this fellow ignite his brain nucleus by mistake? Brain nucleus. The cat was stunned for a moment, lying down hurriedly. In the next moment, the cat stopped moving. Bang! The cat's claws broke a layer of thin film. In the next moment, it screamed miserably. Its claws were burned. Fong Ping, whose source world was destroyed, looked up at the cat. Right now, it looked like it was engulfed in a sea of flames. Fong Ping, on the other hand, did not lose his composure. Still, he had a bitter look on his face. He looked at the azure cat and pointed at the sun in the sky of his source world, smiling bitterly. Big Cat, isn't my brain in the source world? Why would forging the skull ignite my brain nucleus? Sure, Puh and Luan were right. Fong Ping was also very depressed. His brain nucleus was different from other people's. Other people's brain nuclei were in their heads, but his brain nucleus had been stuffed into the source world as a sun when he was forging it. This time, he only wanted to forge his skull. How could he have known that he would ignite his brain core? Fong Ping did not even care when he was scolding them. After he was done cursing, he felt that something was wrong with the source world. When he entered, he was stunned. The sun in the sky was burning. The inextinguishable flame had actually ignited the nucleus of the brain. The crux of the matter was that Fong Ping realized that his brain nucleus could not be extinguished even after it had been ignited. This was the real problem. Meow, it's so hot. The old cat could also feel the power of the flames. As soon as it entered Fong Ping's source world, it was so hot that it jumped up and down. It flew toward Fong Ping hurriedly and looked up at the sky together with Fong Ping. The cat's face was blank. Liar, did you burn yourself to death? It was stunned. Was this liar trying to burn himself to death? Fong Ping was having a headache. He said gloomily, "Don't be sarcastic. I'm thinking of a way to put out the fire." At this moment, his origin energy was overflowing, extinguishing the flames. However, the flames were too strong. Not only could the origin energy not extinguish them, but it had also become an accelerant, burning more and more fiercely. If this went on, his brain nucleus would be burned to the point of collapse. The source world would be in trouble. If the source world collapsed, then Fong Ping might really be finished. At this moment, Fong Ping was also extremely gloomy. Of course, he had a certain degree of confidence in reconstructing the bones. If he had not gone to battle Heavenly Emperor, he probably would not have done it. However, he had gone, and his power control was as high as 99%. So Fong Ping had the confidence to do it. But now, he did not expect that the brain nucleus that was not in his head would actually be ignited. What did this mean? Perhaps it meant that the brain nucleus was also considered a part of the bones. The brain nucleus should also be a part of the human body, but it had always been separated outside, and it was half real and half illusory. Moreover, Fong Ping had integrated it into the source world. He really did not care. Not only him, actually no one cared about this. Did the brain account for the bones? Or was it considered a part of the human body? There was actually no accurate answer to this. Today, there was an answer. Yes, the brain nucleus was actually extremely closely related to the human body. When the bones were ignited, the brain nucleus was actually ignited too, even if the brain nucleus was not in the head. Fong Ping used his origin chi, but he could not extinguish the flames of the brain nucleus. At this moment, his mentality was also being burned. If this went on, he would really burn himself to death. If he burned himself to death like this, Fong Ping would feel that he had been wronged by the flying snow in June. No one had said that burning bones would burn the brain nucleus. Fong Ping soared into the sky, approaching the sun in the sky. As soon as he got close, he felt that his source body was on the verge of being burned. Suddenly, the cat's face was sweating, glancing at the brain nucleus, then at Fong Ping, saying sympathetically, "You're really going to burn yourself to death. Go away, what are you doing?" Fong Ping was having a headache. What should he do? After thinking for a long time, Fong Ping suddenly grabbed downward. In the next moment, the 4 fat babies were caught by him. Fang Ping pointed at the brain nucleus that was like a fireball, and the 4 little babies somewhat understood. In the next moment, the 4 little fellows surrounded it from all directions and began to pee. Obviously, the 4 little fellows felt that spitting could not solve the problem, so peeing might be more suitable. Fang Ping was mentally exhausted. His emotions were still considered stable now. Although the brain nucleus was burning, it might not be able to burn himself to death. However, if this went on, something might happen. Fang Ping frowned, unable to think of a good solution at the moment. The 4 fat babies' pee did suppress the burning speed a little, but it was still difficult to solve the problem. Big Cat, do you have a solution? I don't know. Have you lived for tens of thousands of years in vain? But I've never seen anyone burn their own brain nucleus in tens of thousands of years. You're the first one. How would I know what to do? There were people who burned their own brain nucleus. How rare. I'm about to die. And this is your attitude? Fang Ping was unhappy. Big Cat muttered, I can't do anything about that. Why don't I try peeing too? Fang Ping was mentally exhausted. This stupid cat only knew how to make sarcastic remarks. Looking at the brain nucleus that was still burning violently, Fang Ping's head was splitting. Not only was there no solution, but it was also really painful. The brain nucleus was related to mentality, and right now, Fang Ping's mentality was really starting to burn. Previously, Po had said that he would burn his mentality violently, but Fang Ping had not considered this at the moment. Now, he had to burn it even if he did not want to. Go out and ask. Temporarily suppressing the flames, Fang Ping looked at the 4 fat babies and instructed, Pee more. Don't stop until I come. Keep peeing. As he said that, Fang Ping grabbed one of the fat babies, smacked its butt hard, and said angrily, Pee at the sun, not me. If you pee again, I'll beat you up. What a waste of origin water. These few little guys were the origin water spirits. Although Fang Ping was pissed all over, he did not care. Of course, being peed all over, Fang Ping suddenly felt a little good. It really had the effect of extinguishing the flames. After some thought, Fang Ping grabbed the fat baby again and said, Go out with me, pee at me. No, spit, okay? Fang Ping thought about it and felt a little helpless. These little guys, if they were not peeing, they were spitting. He always felt like he was humiliating himself. When he thought about bringing this guy out, it would either pee or spit at him. Fang Ping felt very helpless. Forget it. My life is more important. My mentality has been ignited. It's better to solve the problem as soon as possible. Back then, when these fellows spit at Dragonmorph, he had even mocked Dragonmorph. Now, there was reincarnation. In the outside world, the cat had just laid down not long ago. As the other 3 were looking solemn, Fang Ping suddenly opened his eyes. In the next moment, a fat baby appeared. As soon as it went out, it started spitting at Fang Ping. Fang Ping was sprayed with water, but the water disappeared in the blink of an eye. Po was stunned for a moment, blinked, and suddenly said impatiently, Isn't this the origin water spirit in the fountain of longevity that I'm guarding? You brat, you're always grabbing all the good stuff here. Fang Ping was too lazy to say anything. He stuffed the fat baby on top of his head and said, Let's not talk about this. My brain nucleus is suddenly ignited. Seniors, you're so knowledgeable. Do you have a way to extinguish the flames? Fang Ping was really speechless at this moment. Po did not continue talking about the fat baby. He also said in a low voice, It's better if the origin water spirit is with you. This thing is good stuff. It should be able to suppress it for a while. Just now, Wan Yi and I judged that you've ignited your brain nucleus. Look at you. You could have forged your jade bones, but you insisted on recasting your bones. Fong Ping smiled bitterly. I didn't know it would ignite my brain nucleus. Senior, now is not the time to ridicule me. Senior, you're so knowledgeable. Do you have a way? I have no way. Sherpa shook his head. Although I'm mainly on the path of mentality now, I really don't have much research on the brain nucleus. But it's not that there's no way. Fortunately, there's this stage. You know what I mean? There's an expert in this stage. There should be a way. Fong Ping's eyes lit up. Yes, this was the stage of Annihilate the Heavenly Emperor. This guy was the ancestor of psychic power. Let's go find him quickly. Fong Ping hurriedly walked toward where Annihilate the Heavenly Emperor was. Fong had not left yet. Celestial Polarity and the others were there too. At this moment, everyone heard the sound of footsteps. Fong was still angry that Fong Ping had scolded him, glaring at the entrance. This look stunned him for a moment. There was a fat baby on top of Fong Ping's head. At this moment, the fat baby was peeing on Fong Ping's head. What did this mean? Fong Ping's expression was indifferent. He said lightly, "Origin water nourishes the flesh. It's so comfortable. Fong, do you want me to lend you some origin water to nourish your rotten body?" Fong frowned and snorted coldly. Fong Ping, this fellow had a lot of good stuff. Origin water essence. This was indeed a treasure, and its spirituality was very high. It was much bigger than ordinary water essences. Right now, it looked as big as Fong Ping's head. Back then, the longevity spring water in the divine sect was actually the size of a fist. These fat babies, recently in Fong Ping's source world, ate well and drank well, and grew up a lot. Fong Ping's expression was indifferent. Although the baby was peeing on his head, he was indifferent, as if he was doing it on purpose. Watering with origin water. Why did you care how I watered? If I wanted origin water to pee, I would pee. Were you convinced? Behind him, Sherpa and Luan were speechless. This fellow, at this stage, was still fooling people. Fong probably did not care about this. After all, origin water was indeed a treasure. Many old powerhouses hoped to obtain, some to prolong their lives. Fong Ping, this fellow, was wasting origin water at such a young age. It was simply extravagant. At this moment, some of the powerhouses present were also a little jealous. On the other hand, Celestial Polarity glanced at Fong Ping, a little puzzled. Did Fong Ping have nothing better to do? Although there were benefits to letting origin water essence pee on his head, was it necessary? Was there something wrong with this fellow's brain? On the stone platform, Heaven Exterminating Emperor also looked at Fong Ping. His gaze flickered slightly, but he did not speak. Fong Ping did not stand on ceremony. He cupped his hands and smiled. Brother Exterminating, regardless of whether we know each other or not, your reincarnation, Yao Qingjun, is my brother. If that's the case, I'll treat you as my brother. Having said that, he patted the skeleton beside him and smiled. This is Li Hansong, the reincarnation of Celestial Emperor Batian. He met Celestial Emperor Batian previously. Celestial Emperor Batian acknowledged him and gave him a lot of vitality to help him forge his jade bones. Brother, I don't know if you recognize this reincarnation. No matter what, when we meet, we still have to be brothers. Fong Ping laughed carelessly. Old Bromia, my brother Yao Qingjun didn't come. I wonder if you can bring some benefits for me when I get out. When I see him, can you help him forge his physique or mentality or something? Mia looked at him, and a faint smile appeared on his cold face, but it disappeared in a flash. Reincarnation. He sounded doubtful. Fong Ping immediately said, "Your disciple knows." Fong, don't be fooled by him. This fellow is treacherous. he took in 4 disciples named Fighting Heavens, Earth War, Overlord, and Exterminating. In the end, they were all beaten to death. You must never treat him as one of us. He was even prepared to kill your reincarnations. Feng frowned slightly and said coldly, Feng Ping did not take it seriously. Why? Did I lie? Celestial fate, your Emperor Shi's son. Tell me, is it true? Brother Exterminating, this is Emperor Shi's son. He still has some credibility. Although Feng and I are not on the same side, I didn't wrongly accuse him. Celestial fate glanced at Feng, then at Feng Ping. After a while, he decided to be a mute. He would not get involved. Feng Ping found a cattail hassock and sat down. He glanced at the others and smiled. How do we pass this round? The cat poked his waist with its paw. It was a little strange. Why aren't you asking how to save you? Feng Ping ignored it. What did it know? The more anxious I am, the easier it is for others to get hold of me. I'm not in a hurry. I'll get closer to Exterminating Heaven Emperor and ask for help. This will make things easier. Exterminating Heaven Emperor glanced at them and said slowly, it's not difficult to pass this round. I won't set any checkpoints. Martial artists of the origin path will come here and manifest the origin world. The world will turn illusions into reality. Then they will pass. What about beginner martial artists? Feng Ping chatted unhurriedly, but he was panicking inside. Of course, he had to pretend to be calm on the surface. Moreover, Feng and the others were still here. He had to get rid of them first. Beginner martial artists, Exterminating Heaven Emperor said lightly, if beginner martial artists want to pass this round, they have to enter my origin. If they can walk out, they will pass. That's not difficult. Oh, right. Are there any benefits? Of course there are. Exterminating Heaven Emperor did not hide anything. He said lightly, those who can pass this round, I can solve their doubts once. Feng Ping nodded and smiled. That's not bad. Anything can be solved. If it's related to spiritual consciousness, I should be able to solve it. As he said that, he looked at Feng Ping and said meaningfully, your doubts are not unsolvable. Feng Ping understood immediately. He did not expect this guy to see through it. Feng Ping smiled. That's good. Turning illusions into reality is enough. That was easy. His origin world was extremely powerful. It was not difficult to turn illusions into reality and project it into reality. Of course, this was also him. For others, it was actually more difficult. It was not a big problem for heavenly kings, but it would be difficult for non-heaven kingdom martial artists. His luck was not bad. There was a problem with the brain nucleus in this round, and it happened to be with Exterminating Heaven Emperor. As he was thinking, Exterminating Heaven Emperor said lightly, I think you might have more doubts. Huh. Feng Ping was stunned. What doubts do I have? You will have them. Exterminating Heaven Emperor seemed to know what he was thinking. He suddenly chuckled. If you want to know, you can also try to increase the difficulty of passing this round. As soon as he said that, Feng was stunned. Increase the difficulty? He only asked questions after passing the round. But now Exterminating Heaven Emperor was saying that the difficulty could be adjusted. How do I increase the difficulty? How about entering my origin and have a walk? Exterminating Heaven Emperor smiled faintly. This is a test for beginner martial artists. However, if you pass both rounds, you can ask more questions. At this moment, Feng hurriedly said, Teacher, then you can't pass. Exterminating Heaven Emperor said calmly, pass the origin and lock the origin. You've locked the origin. You can't pass this round. Hearing this, Feng was instantly disappointed. According to what he said, he might not be able to pass. Feng Ping looked at Exterminating Heaven Emperor in surprise. Did this guy deliberately open the back door for me? What did he see? Is he giving me face? Or is there a conspiracy? Fong Ping was still thinking. Beside him, Sky's Fate transmitted his voice to Sheng Nan, scolding, "Did you see that?" "What? Idiot!" Sky's Fate was annoyed. He transmitted his voice. "Look at the dishes. These projections are not good people. Those who feel that they have a chance of becoming an emperor are mostly doing favors. Can't you see? Those of us who feel that we have no hope of becoming an emperor won't even look at you. Damn, even the projections are so realistic. Sure enough, without strength, you're trash no matter where you go." Sky's Fate was sullen. He and Sheng Nan had been here for a long time. They had to wait for Fong to finish asking questions. Of course, they could not hear the questions. They could only watch. Now that Fong Ping had arrived, Exterminating Heaven Emperor actually opened the back door. Was Fong Ping cutting the queue? Forget it. Shameless. Sky's Fate cursed in his heart. Exterminating Heaven Emperor was also so shameless. Did he look like he was not to be trifled with? Seeing that he was slightly stronger and had better qualifications, he just opened the back door for him to cut the queue. Exterminating Heaven was not in the mood to pay attention to him. He looked at Fong Ping again and smiled faintly. "Are you going to pass 2 rounds?" Fong Ping thought about it and smiled. "Let's try passing 1 round first. We'll talk about the 2nd round." "Sure." Fong Ping did not stand on ceremony when he heard that. He quickly condensed a projection of the origin world. This time, the projection was extremely bright. The entire world was illuminated. Below, there was a city. There were people living in it. Fong looked a little strange. This kid's origin world was getting stronger and stronger. Not only was it stronger, but its lethality seemed to have increased. At this moment, he actually felt a burning sensation. As for Exterminating Heaven Emperor, he kept staring at his origin world. After looking for a while, he said slowly, "Just as I expected." As he said that, he looked at Fong Ping meaningfully again. Fong Ping felt a little uncomfortable. Exterminating Heaven Emperor looked easy to talk to in this round. But why did he feel that this guy was up to no good? This gaze made him feel like this guy wanted to sleep with him. Mother asterisk cur. Why did he have such a thought? Fong Ping was puzzled and wary. Could this guy be a psychopath? He heard that cold people had a fanatical heart. Exterminating Heaven Emperor was quite cold. Otherwise, Big Cat would not have called him Big Blackface. "Can I ask questions then?" "Yes." "Can you send them away?" Fong Ping said, and said hurriedly, "This is not my problem. Don't trick me." Exterminating Heaven Emperor was slightly stunned. "I have not considered this problem. Now that you mention it, I'm enlightened." Without saying anything, he waved his hand and Fong disappeared. Fong did not even have time to say anything before he was sent away. At this moment, Celestial Polarity coughed dryly. "Why don't you send me away too? I'll go to the next round and take a look." He was helpless. Challenging the rounds was no longer interesting. There did not seem to be any benefits. All the benefits were swallowed by these bastards. Him challenging the rounds was like going through the motions. It was getting more and more boring. Just as he said that, Exterminating Heaven Emperor waved his hand, and he and Sheng Nan disappeared without a word. Before Celestial Polarity left, he could not help but curse. "Mother asterisk cur, you really sent me away. I'm just being polite. You should at least give me some benefits." His voice disappeared in an instant. Exterminating Heaven Emperor ignored him. He looked at Fong Ping with burning eyes and smiled. "Ask away." Fong Ping felt a chill run down his spine. What was up with this guy? "That my brain core has been ignited. How do I extinguish it?" As expected. Exterminating Heaven Emperor nodded. It was just as he expected. Your brain core has been ignited. Exterminating Heaven Emperor murmured. How did you ignite it? You didn't die after it was ignited. Coincidentally, you had the origin water. You're really lucky. As expected, demons appear in troubled times. Fong Ping frowned. This guy was asking me, how did I ignite it? Could I say I was courting death and accidentally ignited it? Wait. What? Exterminating Heaven Emperor said suddenly. Fong Ping was stunned. Wait for what? Wait. Exterminating Heaven Emperor repeated again and said softly, wait for the brain core to melt. Fong Ping almost cursed it out loud. Was he asking him to wait for death? If it wasn't for the fact that he was afraid of smacking him to death, he wouldn't have anyone to ask. Do you believe that he wouldn't smack him to death right now? Exterminating Heaven Emperor smiled faintly. It's okay. I won't die. He paused and said, Sherpa, you and that young friend will pass first. Sherpa and Luan were stunned. What did he mean? Pass. There's not much to gain from this level. Exterminating Heaven Emperor looked at the two of them and said softly, this level is only to stop beginner martial artists from passing. Sherpa was surprised. Stop beginner martial artists? Exterminating Heaven Emperor nodded slightly and said nothing more. Sherpa thought for a while and conjured his origin world. Luan glanced at Fong Ping. Fong Ping thought for a while and asked worriedly, you won't kill me after they leave, right? Exterminating Heaven Emperor said lightly, you want to share the secret of your origin with them. Fong Ping was speechless. What did he mean? Fong Ping thought for a while and said nothing more. Luan laughed and said, all right, kid, I'll go to the next level first. You're on your own. Don't burn yourself to death. I won't, Fong Ping replied. Both of them instantiated their own source worlds. Then they asked a question related to cultivation and hurriedly left the place. At this moment, only Fong Ping, Ironhead, and Old Cat were left. Just as they left, Exterminating Heaven Emperor suddenly sighed. Jean, dumbass, and I'm afraid we're really dead. Fong Ping was stunned when he heard that. What did he mean? This was just a projection. Even if they knew about the final battle, no one could be sure that they were really dead. After all, this was just a projection before the final battle. How did Exterminating Heaven Emperor determine that the real body was dead? Exterminating Heaven Emperor looked at Fong Ping and suddenly shook his head. You might be our new product. Rumble. As if struck by lightning, Fong Ping's expression changed drastically. New product. What did he mean? Exterminating Heaven Emperor seemed to know much more than that idiot Batian Emperor. Chapter 1335. New product. Fong Ping repulsed and loathed this term from the bottom of his heart. I'm not a thing. Bah, I am not a test subject. Fong Ping suppressed the throbbing in his heart. He would rather be a chess piece than be called a new product. Fong Ping exhaled. The Heaven Exterminating Emperor looked at him. Fong Ping's tone suddenly changed. Cut the crap. How do we extinguish the fire? I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. You said that I can ask questions if I succeed. Now, I'm asking you how to extinguish the fire. What's the meaning of waiting? The Heaven Exterminating Monarch was stunned for a moment before he chuckled. Aren't you curious? Don't tell me you're not curious or shocked by such a big thing. Fong Ping did not think much of it. He huffed and said, I only need to listen to half of what you say and believe the other half. Why are you scaring yourself? If you have the time, I'll break through to the 9th level, become an emperor, and kill everyone. Naturally, there won't be a problem then. The Heaven Exterminating Emperor laughed. I'm afraid it won't be as easy as you think it is to kill everyone. Yes, when I first started practicing martial arts 3 years ago, everyone told me that becoming a 7th-level grandmaster was as difficult as ascending to heaven. Now I've broken through to the 7th level. Fong Ping pursed his lips. Do you know that some people like to raise tigers, lions, and wolves, and then they get bitten to death? A lame joke? The cat looked at Fong Ping. What a cold joke. Fong Ping continued. Now, not only does someone want to rear tigers and lions, he even wants to rear the devil. Tell me, do you think this kind of person will have a good ending? Of course, I'm not talking about me. I'm not a devil. I'm very kind. Speaking up to this point, he felt that it was somewhat inappropriate. So he added, I don't mean to boast, but I am indeed very kind. The outside world calls me the star of the human race. The heaven exterminating Tharch broke into laughter. He didn't mind what the heaven exterminating Tharch had said. He said slowly, your brain nucleus being ignited is both a good and a bad thing. The bad thing was that it was easy for the brain nucleus to collapse, resulting in immediate death. And good things. Fong Ping listened attentively. In the end, he became a eunuch. Fong Ping's expression was extremely pleasant. Annihilating the heavenly emperor, right? Just you wait. When I go back and meet Yao Chungjun, I will hammer him to death. The heaven exterminating Tharch seemed to have read his mind. He smiled and said, there's no hurry. Since you want to know, you can actually take a walk in my source world. Perhaps you'll see more there. When you come out, maybe you'll be interested to know something else, such as new products. Fong Ping thought for a while, then looked at the cat and said, I'll go. You stay here and keep an eye on him. If this guy is up to no good, you can scratch him to death for me. Hearing this, the cat said timidly, No, I want to go too. Big Black Face never smiles, but he's smiling all the time today. It's making me a little scared. Shall we go together? Fong Ping was extremely frustrated. Is it worth it? In any case, you're a cat that's only at level 7. Is there a need to be afraid of this projection? Fong Ping looked at Ironhead, thought for a moment, and said, Ironhead, let's go in together, just in case he tries anything funny. The heaven exterminating Tharch chuckled. Let's go take a look together. Perhaps it will be of some help to you. As he spoke, he waved his hand toward Fong Ping. Fong Ping did not refuse. Instantly, he felt the world spinning. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from the Hall of Myriad Origins. The heaven exterminating Tharch sat cross-legged on the stone platform. Suddenly, he sighed softly. 4 emperors, 3 emperors. Sigh. The sigh reverberated in the basilica. Very quickly, it vanished into thin air. Roar! A roar jolted Fong Ping back to reality. At this moment, Fong Ping was in a trance. Earth, mountains, plains, rivers, he felt as if he had transmigrated. He had transmigrated to a new world. He could not see the end of it, an incomparably huge world. At this moment, he was beside a river. A ferocious tiger beast that was drinking water suddenly attacked him. Fong Ping smacked it with his palm. Bang! It exploded. Blood, bones, flesh. It was as if it was real. Fong Ping frowned slightly. His fingers caught a drop of blood, twirling it gently. In a low voice, he said, It looks like real blood. The cat looked at him aggrievedly, muttering, Why did you kill the tiger? Fong Ping's question mark face. Suddenly he reacted. The corner of his mouth twitched. You're a cat, not a tiger. This isn't someone from your clan. Are you addicted to acting? Meow. The cat said aggrievedly, Cats and tigers are of the same family. Little Chubby Face said that cats are tigers and tigers are cats. Little Chubby Face also said that cats are actually tigers' masters. Many, many years ago, I think I taught a tiger. Then, I'm the tiger's grandmaster. Fong Ping was mentally exhausted. He said exasperatedly, "Cut the crap. I'm asking you to see if it's true. I'm not asking you to argue with me about this. This cat must be stupid. Fang Yuan was just saying it casually. How could it take it seriously? You even taught a tiger. People say that you're the wind, but you're the rain. Did you really teach a tiger? Who are you trying to fool?" The cat felt aggrieved. A liar killed a tiger. It was very sad. I might be a tiger's. Fong Ping saw the cat's sad expression and felt extremely helpless. He rubbed the cat's head and said helplessly, all right, I won't kill the tiger next time. You're the tiger. You're the tiger's master. Is that okay?" He was too immersed in his role. It was hopeless. Beside him, Ironhead could not help but want to laugh. He laughed so hard that his skeletal face was trembling. Fong Ping glared at him impatiently. He frowned slightly. This is Celestial Exterminator's source world. It's so big. I can't see the end of it. I'm afraid the area is not smaller than a city, right? As he said that, Fong Ping leaped into the air. His eyes glowed as he scanned the surroundings. Then, his expression changed slightly. It was not just a city. It was almost as big as a province, right? No, maybe it was bigger because he did not see the edge. There seemed to be many creatures in the distance. This seemed to be a prehistoric world. They were all monsters, insects. Anyway, he did not see anyone. Everything was there. Lakes, mountains, plants, animals, except for people. Everything was there. Fong Ping frowned. Such a big source world. He had heard that during Celestial Exterminator's last battle, the source world covered the Celestial Realm. The Celestial Realm's collapse had a lot to do with Celestial Exterminator. This fellow's large-scale magic attack was like a forbidden spell. It covered the Celestial Realm, which caused a huge problem in the Celestial Realm and was directly destroyed. Could it be that this world covered the Celestial Realm back then? The source world here was a projection. Naturally, it was also fake. However, there was an advantage to this place. The projection and the real body's memories were the same. The source world should be the same too. He could not rule out the possibility that Celestial Exterminator was more powerful in the later stages. However, the source world here should be like the source world of his time. Celestial Exterminator, the source world is too big. Fong Ping landed on the ground. He was a little speechless. How do I pass this round? What did he want me to see? At this moment, a voice came from the void. It said lightly, "The world is big, but it's not that the world is big. What you see and what I see are not the same." Fong Ping was stunned. In your source, the world that those illusionary figures see, is the world that you see the same? Fong Ping frowned slightly. This was Celestial Exterminator's voice. Fong Ping thought for a while and said in a low voice, "You're saying that this is actually a cognitive error. In my source world, the world that those people see is a world with two cities, a world with mountains and rivers, just like what I'm seeing now. In reality, what I see is a small world with a diameter of less than 1,000 meters." He understood a little. "That's right," Celestial Exterminator responded and said, "If you pass the round, you can just walk out." "Walk out?" "Yes, walk out." Fong Ping continued to frown. Very quickly, he said, "I understand a little. You want me to find the location of your Tao? Walk out through the Tao." The source world was connected to the Tao. If he walked on the Tao, he should be able to walk out, right? See for yourself and feel for yourself. After leaving these words, Celestial Exterminator's voice disappeared. Fong Ping rubbed his chin. Why did this guy bring me to his source world? What did he want me to see? Yes, the sun. Fong Ping suddenly thought of something and looked up hurriedly. With this look, Fong Ping frowned. After thinking for a while, he quickly flew up into the sky. As he flew, Fong Ping felt that something was wrong. The sky seemed to be infinitely high. He kept flying up, but he did not see the sun. It was like the real world. The sun looked close, but you could not fly up. Behind him, the cat and Ironhead also flew up. The cat looked at his head. There was still a peeing baby on it, and said sympathetically, "Liar, hurry up and find it. This little fatty is about to faint from peeing." Uffed. Ironhead could not help it and laughed out loud. Fong Ping's face darkened. "You skeleton monster, don't make a sound. Isn't it better to be a good skeleton?" "I'm looking. That's strange. Is it because I'm in this world that I can't fly up and can't see his brain nucleus? Because there was something wrong with the brain nucleus, Miel let him in to take a look. Fong Ping felt that the answer might be in Mia's brain nucleus. But now he could not see it. What did this mean? Fong Ping continued to fly up. With his broken 7 strength, his flying speed was very fast. But after flying for almost 10 minutes, Fong Ping still did not feel the existence of the sky. This damn place was a little strange. Fong Ping did not fly up anymore. He looked at the sun in the void and frowned slightly. He looked at Ironhead and the cat and said disdainfully, "Although you two are stupid, at least give me some ideas. Don't just be stupid." Ironhead said gloomily, "Who's stupid? Aren't we looking for the sun with you?" The cat also agreed. "That's right. We've been flying with you for so long. You're stupid. You can't find it." Fong Ping was really speechless. These two fellows were really unreliable. If I brought you two here, I might as well bring Old Wong here. Old Wong can still have some ideas at critical moments. You two can just eat and wait to die. The cat said matter-of-factly, "Cats eat and wait to die?" Fong Ping decided not to talk to it. It would be useless anyway. After thinking for a while, Fong Ping said quickly, "Go find the Tao. The Tao is connected to the world. Once you find the door of the Tao, you can go out." As he said that, Fong Ping flew in a direction. The Tao was usually at the edge of the world. Those with origin Taoists knew this. This time, he kept flying. He flew for a long time. Below him, he passed by mountains, crossed rivers, and even encountered some flying monsters, but he still could not see the edge of the world. This time, Fong Ping was a little annoyed and confused. What did the heaven-exterminating emperor want him to see? Was this level that difficult? Previously, the heaven-exterminating emperor said that he could not pass this level because only beginner martial artists could. Why did he say that? I'm so annoyed with these weird fellows. Just tell me directly. Why do you insist on me looking for it? Fong Ping complained. After thinking for a while, he suddenly took out the Origin Realm. You can't find the Origin martial artists, right? I was a martial artist back then. Fong Ping went into the Origin Realm. In the blink of an eye, the Tao disappeared. He came out again. This time, he had already taken the Origin Tao. Fong Ping came out again. This time, he suddenly felt something different. At this time, the heaven-exterminating emperor, who was sitting cross-legged in the basilica, was slightly stunned. Where was the Tao? Could this work? For a moment, the heaven-exterminating emperor was also stunned. If this was the case, was his test still a test? This was not his original intention. It was to grind Fong Ping's character, to let him search and discover it himself. But now, it seemed to have gone against his original intention. The heaven-exterminating emperor was a little surprised. Fong Ping was also a little surprised. When he took down the Tao, he felt something different. Illusion. Yes, previously with the Tao, he felt that this world was very real. But now, with the Tao gone, he suddenly felt that this world was a little out of place, not real enough. It was a fake world. What beginner martial artists see is different from what we see. Fang Ping frowned slightly. What was the heaven exterminating emperor trying to say? The origin. The origin world is the manifestation of the origin. Origin martial artists carry the origin Tao. I'm afraid it's difficult for them to find some loopholes in this world. Some problems, beginner martial artists strengthen themselves. Their senses become sharper, so they can find problems. Or is the heaven exterminating emperor trying to tell me that there's a problem with the origin world? Or could it be that the source is fake? Fang Ping frowned again and again. The heaven exterminating emperor was very annoying. Just say it directly. However, this attempt gave him some unexpected gains. Sometimes, if he tried it himself, he might be able to feel more differences. Fang Ping suddenly closed his eyes and began to feel. The moment he closed his eyes, he felt something different about this world. Suddenly, Fang Ping opened his eyes and looked in a direction. The central area of the mainland, the area where he was just now. Fang Ping's eyes moved, and he quickly flew in that direction. Ironhead hurried to catch up. The cat asked curiously, "Liar, what's wrong? Didn't you notice the difference?" Fang Ping asked doubtfully, "You don't have the Tao either. Didn't you notice the difference?" "What?" The cat looked at the direction Fang Ping pointed, which was also the direction where he first appeared. It was a little confused, scratching its head with its claws. "You mean it's softer over there?" "Softer?" Fang Ping felt tired. So, this stupid cat had really noticed the difference. "You actually did not say it. It's not softer, it's more illusory," Fang Ping said in a low voice. "This world looks very real, but it's just an illusion after all. It's actually fake. You and I both know that. But before this, it felt like it was real." Looking at it again. "Now, the whole world feels a little illusory, and the place we came from is even more illusory." "Yes." The cat looked at him and asked curiously, "Then what's wrong?" Fang Ping did not want to talk to it anymore. Ironhead understood a little. The skeleton twisted and said, "You mean that's where the Tao is?" "Maybe where the Tao is, it's even more illusory." Ironhead wanted to lick his lips, but found that he could not, so he could only give up and said, "Is the heaven exterminating emperor trying to say that the origin Tao is very fake?" "It's possible." Fang Ping nodded and continued flying, saying as he flew, "I don't know what he wants me to see. Maybe he wants me to feel it myself, to understand all this better. But the source world is actually also the origin Tao. Why is it different?" Fang Ping frowned. Very soon, he flew to the previous place. This time, he felt it more clearly. At this moment, when he arrived here, he seemed to sense a passageway. This place was slightly more fragile than other places. The heaven exterminating emperor's Tao is also inserted in the source world. Fang Ping suddenly thought of this question and was a little speechless. There was someone who had the same hobby as him. The location of the origin Tao is even more illusory. The sun can't be found. Are these two related? He said that my brain nucleus being ignited is not a bad thing. Could it be that he has also experienced this before? Fang Ping frowned, thinking about this, and casually punched the void. The void seemed to tremble slightly. He and the cat felt it, but Ironhead did not feel it. Fang Ping looked at him as if he did not feel it. Fang Ping retreated from this area and punched again. The void did not tremble. The next moment, Fang Ping's eyes moved slightly, and suddenly he quickly dug the ground. Ironhead was dumbfounded and could not help but say, "Are you a rat? It's already broken 7, and you're still digging. Stop talking nonsense, dig." Fang Ping said in a low voice, "I'll dig here, you dig in the area I just marked." He dug in the area outside the Tao, letting Ironhead dig in the area he had marked. Big Cat, you dig too, hurry up. Iron Head was helpless. The cat thought for a while, suddenly grabbed Iron Head, turning the skeleton upside down. Its claws grabbed both of Iron Head's legs, smashing his head toward the ground with a bang. It felt that Li Hansong's head was very big, and his skull was very hard. It might be more convenient to dig. With a bang, a pit was smashed into the ground. % yen. Li Hansong almost died of anger. This stupid cat, you're crazy. What do you take me for? Meow, faster like this. The cat felt that it was quite easy to use, continuing to smash down, smashing a hole with each smash. It was very convenient. On the other side, Fong Ping did not care about them, digging down quickly. Outside, Heaven Extermination Emperor was having a headache. Why did he think of digging a hole? Couldn't he fly up a little more? He felt that there was something wrong with his test this time, and the test target was not normal either. First, the Tao was gone, then suddenly he had to dig the ground. What was he thinking? This was not following the script. Previously, Fong Ping flew up, but he did not fly for long. Couldn't he continue to fly a little more? Sigh. Heaven Extermination Emperor was mentally exhausted, feeling that there was something wrong with this test. The guy who was taking the test inside was not a normal person. Fong Ping continued to dig, becoming more energetic the more he dug. 100 meters deep, 1,000 meters deep. He kept digging until he was almost 10,000 meters deep, and his expression suddenly changed. He seemed to have dug a rock. Before this, it had always been soil, but now there was a sudden thump. The weapon that Fong Ping used to dig made a sound. The shovel in Fong Ping's hand suddenly turned into a long staff. Fong Ping stabbed it with the staff. There was a rumble. The recoil was very strong. Fong Ping frowned. Then his expression changed again, and he said suddenly, "Continue digging. Dig until this whole area is empty. All of you, hurry up." After saying that, Fong Ping suddenly split into thousands of clones, and countless clones began to dig the ground together. Outside, Heaven Extermination Emperor was even more confused. Did this guy discover the problem, or did he not? What was he trying to do by digging like this? He was about to be dumbfounded. Dig, continue digging. Fong Ping was tireless. On the other side, Cat and Iron Head had also dug to the bottom. Cat poked with his claws, poking through the bottom. Feeling a little guilty, he quickly closed up the bottom, shouting, "Liar, we've dug to the bottom." Fong Ping did not turn his head, continuing to dig, asking, "Will it break with one poke?" "Yes, you two? Stop talking nonsense. You continue to dig. Dig out that whole area for me." Cat was depressed, but he could only continue digging. About an hour later, this area had been dug into a huge, deep pit by a few people. Fong Ping looked at the big bowl-like hole at the bottom and suddenly laughed. Floating in the air, Fong Ping looked at the bottom of the big bowl again. There was an obvious scar, and his smile became even brighter. "Interesting. Heaven Extermination Emperor, are you telling me that Tao is actually flawed?" Yes, at this moment, looking down, the area where Tao was, it looked like a scar stuck on a porcelain piece. Fong Ping suddenly said, "Under normal circumstances, Tao is actually not like this. It's wide. If that's the case, the scar left behind is bigger, and you've shrunk it." At the thought of this, Fong Ping did not say anything else. He quickly flew toward the scar, punching the bottom with one punch. Then, Fong Ping went out. This time, Fong Ping saw even more things. However, at this moment, Heaven Extermination Emperor's voice rang in his ears. "You can come out now." With a rumble, Fong Ping's vision went black. He, Cat, and the others appeared in the basilica again. Fong Ping did not wait for Heaven Extermination Emperor to speak, saying impatiently, "Next time, Just say it directly. I thought it was some difficult question, but it turned out to be this. Just say it, and I won't have to waste so much time. You understand? Heaven Extermination Emperor was not angry, smiling instead. Fong Ping nodded. Nonsense, it's so simple. Your source world is actually also a source star. However, in this sphere, your source star has been pierced through by Tao, leaving behind a hole. As he said that, he saw Ironhead looking at him. Fong Ping said casually, "It's like a bead. Someone has pierced through it, turning it from a solid object to a perforated one." Ironhead understood, smiling. Your description is still more appropriate. Heaven Extermination Emperor laughed again. Anything else? Yes, Fong Ping said in a low voice. The surroundings of Earth, forget it. I should say the surroundings of the source star should be empty. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be like this. After piercing through it, you won't directly appear outside the source star. Forget it. Anyway, there's something wrong with this place of yours. It's not a simple source star. If you ask me, this place of yours is more like an iron shell enveloping the original star. I broke this iron shell earlier, so I came out. Heaven Extermination Emperor laughed. Anything else? Yes. Fong Ping asked, doubtfully. How did this iron shell of yours form? You asked me to look at the sun, and I did see it, but I couldn't find it. Could it be? The sun is everywhere. Heaven Extermination Emperor chuckled. It's just a projection. It's not exactly where you see it. At this moment, Fong Ping suddenly came to a realization. He nodded. I understand the benefits you're talking about. No, I know what an iron shell is. You're very smart. It's just SOO. I didn't think of it until you showed it to me. Thank you. Fong Ping thanked him sincerely. Then he focused and asked, what are these benefits? Unification. Fong Ping's gaze moved. Unification? That's right. You still not understand? Fong Ping suddenly understood. Ironhead, who was beside him, looked confused. Even his skeletal face was confused. He said in a daze, what do you mean? Tell me. Heaven Extermination Emperor laughed. Dumbass, you're as dumb as ever. Ironhead was indignant. He said gloomily, both of you speak so vaguely. How would I understand? Can this cat understand? He had to drag someone, the cat, down with him. In the end, the cat yawned and said lazily, how stupid. He had already said that they would return to one. Return to one. The source world was outside, and the brain nucleus was his. Big Blackface melted his own brain. No, he melted his brain into an iron shell and put his source world inside. This way, the source world is in the brain. When the brain is put into the brain, it's his. This is unification. The cat looked at Ironhead in disdain. You don't even understand this. How stupid. Big Blackface still needs to be enhanced by the origin Tao. That's why this brain is actually a Tonghulu with a pair of holes. Fong Ping nodded. Heaven Extermination Emperor also smiled and nodded in agreement. Ironhead, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. He cursed in his heart. This was too much. It was not that he did not understand, but he had never come into contact with the unification that they were talking about. The cat and Fong Ping had reached this level. Of course, they knew what unification meant. How could Ironhead understand? He did not. In the end, he was being looked down upon by a cat. Ironhead was indignant, but he was too embarrassed to say anything. It was embarrassing. However, Fong Ping's eyes were bright. Unification. I couldn't put the source world into my brain before, because the brain was a solid body. Now that I've ignited it, I can melt it into a shell and wrap the source world. Is that right? As he said that, Fong Ping thought of something, and his heart moved slightly. Heaven Extermination Emperor could not wrap it completely because he still needed Tao. As for himself, could he seal it completely? Because he did not actually need the Tao enhancement. Of course, he could first open an opening now, and then seal it when the Tao did not need it anymore. Fang Ping licked his lips. He had actually been thinking about how to unify the source world for a long time. Today, he actually found a way to unify. Heaven Extermination Emperor looked at Fang Ping and said softly, "You're right. Unifying the source is actually extremely difficult, and we actually haven't really done it." Heaven Extermination Emperor suddenly laughed at himself. Actually, this is a dead end. If you completely unify and the origin channel breaks, you will no longer be a venerable emperor because you will lose the origin enhancement. However, if you don't completely unify, this so-called unification will be greatly reduced. There will be a loophole, but it's not much different from not unifying. In the past, I wanted to completely unify, but I couldn't make up my mind because if I did, my origin cultivation would be in vain. Sigh. A sigh that was indescribably bleak. He did not know if others had done it before with the brain covering the source world. Anyway, he had discovered the secret, so he did it. However, there was still a loophole in the end. He could not bear to give up the origin Tao. If he gave up, he would no longer be a venerable emperor. At this time, he could not help but look at Fang Ping. Before this, Fang Ping had abandoned the Tao. How did he do it? At this moment, he could not help but wonder, would his path of unification be different from his? Chapter 1336. Since the Annihilate Emperor had said that after the brain core was melted, it could envelop the source world and undergo unification, Fang Ping was no longer in a hurry. He was not in a hurry, but beside him, the cat poked him with its paw and said with widened eyes, "Liar, will he lie to you? When you're done burning, you'll be dead." He was speechless. The corner of Fang Ping's mouth twitched slightly. "Cat, you're right." Fang Ping looked at Heaven Exterminating Emperor suspiciously. "If that's the case, I'm done for. Does that count as me giving up on treatment?" The Heaven Exterminating Arch looked at the Azure Cat and felt an urge to slap it. Would I do that? But this matter was inexplicable. You said he wouldn't die, right? By that time, he would already be dead. You said that they could return to one, but before they could, their brain nuclei were gone. How were you going to settle the score? Fang Ping was also having a headache because of the old cat. What the big cat said made sense, but at this point, what should he do? Tai Tu was dazed as well. It was indeed a dilemma. It melted and turned into a shell to return to its original form. However, if he was deceived, Fang Ping would be done for. The Heaven Exterminating Monarch was mentally exhausted. He said slowly, "I have no need to lie to you." Fang Ping was still a little apprehensive. Truth be told, other than a few people, he would not trust anyone else, especially when it came to matters of life and death. If it really melted and didn't produce that effect, what would happen then? The Heaven Exterminating Arch chuckled at his silence. "Actually, there's no need to worry. When the brain core melts, you can slowly refine the matter produced outside the source world. That way, you'll be able to see if it's effective." "Brother Slayer, are you saying that I can actually start forging right now?" "Cast what?" "Cast an eggshell." It enveloped the source world. At the thought of this, Fang Ping suddenly thought of a question. He asked hesitantly, "Brother Slayer, if I seal off my source world completely and the source world and my brain core become one, does that mean that my source world exists in my body and I'll lose contact with the source universe?" "I don't know either." Because I've never tried to seal myself completely." The Heaven Destroying Monarch sighed softly. "I've actually wanted to give it a try but I'm worried that if I were to seal myself off completely and sever the connection to my source, where would I go without my source? Without the source, even if an extreme Tao heavenly emperor had a specialty, such as a powerful mental energy, at the very most, he would only be at the heavenly king realm, at their level. So what if they broke through to the 7th level of the heavenly king stage? For these people to be able to cultivate to this level, they had experienced too much. They had enemies, grievances, and all sorts of disputes. No one in the emperor realm can match him. No opponents at the beginner level. None of the experts of the 3 realms wanted to kill them. The heaven exterminating Dharch naturally wouldn't dare to do so. He couldn't. Therefore, he could not answer Fang Ping's question. However, the heaven exterminating Dharch thought for a moment and said, even if your brain core encompasses the origin world, there should still be a certain connection with the origin universe. Because the source world was also a part of the universe, it might not be so simple to completely break free from the source. The heaven exterminating Dharch hesitated. In the past, when the celestial Dharch transcended, although he might not have discovered this method, it was still extremely difficult for the celestial Dharch to transcend. In the end, there were still some hidden dangers. If you want to transcend the source, I'm afraid that sealing the source is not enough. The celestial Dharch left behind hidden dangers? You mean the world behind the door? You know about it too? I know a little. I went there once. The heaven exterminating Dharch pondered and said, slowly there were some hidden dangers. When he transcended behind the door, he shattered his own star of origin and jumped out of the origin universe. However, there was a problem with the source, and he had to find a way to suppress it. Otherwise, he would suffer from the backlash of the origin universe's collapse and perish. Therefore, the path of origin became popular. Find someone to replace him. Seeing that the heaven exterminating Dharch was silent, Fang Ping added with a smile, so the 9 emperors were born? The heaven exterminating Dharch looked at him again and said softly, you know, quite a lot. The reason the path of origin became popular in the past was indeed related to this matter. So, the celestial Dharch is a supervillain? You can't say that. The heaven exterminating Dharch said lightly, walking the path of origin. Do you really think that those people don't know there's a problem when you reach the later stage? They know, but they still couldn't resist the temptation. Who would be willing to give up? The heaven exterminating Dharch shook his head. At that stage, it's not like there's no solution. Actually, there was a solution before one entered the monarch realm. The final stretch of the Tao of Origins has been severed. Fang Ping nodded. The heaven exterminating emperor chuckled. Do you think it was the 9 emperors who broke it? Fang Ping was stunned for a moment. The heaven exterminating emperor sighed and said, to become an emperor, one needs to kill a beginner martial powerhouse and absorb everything from the other party in order to become an emperor. Why was it so difficult? Because someone actually doesn't want you to become a monarch. Fang Ping's pupils contracted slightly. Celestial Emperor? Maybe. The heaven exterminating Dharch said indifferently, the heaven Dharch actually gave everyone a choice. If he was the one who severed the great Tao, it would mean that he was actually hesitating and ultimately gave everyone another choice. Becoming an omnipotent expert is already sufficient to allow you to gain a foothold in the 3 dimensions and become an overlord. But are you willing? The heaven exterminating Dharch let out a self-mocking laugh. Are you satisfied? The appearance of the 9 sovereigns and 4 emperors actually represented everyone's unwillingness. Since they were unwilling and insisted on leaving, then it wouldn't be considered as being schemed against. Everyone jumped in willingly. He was still considered fair, as he said this at this moment. The celestial emperor actually tampered with the last part of the great Tao to make it difficult for you to become an emperor, the divine emperor, and the others had proven their Tao by killing a beginner martial arts apex powerhouse. Such a price had already proven some things. The path ahead had already been cut off, so there was no need to continue. At that time, the emperors had actually already discovered the problem. However, having reached that point, how could they be willing to give up? How could they be willing to stay in the realm of the omnipotent? Therefore, someone found a way to jump over the broken great Tao, walked behind the door, and became an emperor. The heaven-exterminating emperor's words shook Fang Ping a little. The emperor said that everyone had been schemed against by the celestial emperor and became a substitute. However, the emperor did not say that the great Tao was severed by the celestial emperor. If it was really severed by the celestial emperor, then it was actually different. The celestial emperor gave them a choice and even told them not to continue on. Omnipotent experts in that era, without emperors, were already the top powerhouses. However, there were people who were unwilling to give up. If that was the case, then these people were like moths to a flame. For a moment, Fang Ping's feelings were complicated. If he put himself in the celestial emperor's shoes and realized that the path ahead was cut off, even if he knew there was danger, would he give up? Perhaps it was also impossible. However, since he had persisted, he had to bear the consequences himself. Was it the celestial emperor's fault, or was it the 9 emperors' own fault? Fang Ping could not judge, nor could he say it. At this moment, Fang Ping could already feel his brain core melting. This was the same logic as steel melting and being cast again. Fang Ping looked at the heaven-exterminating emperor and could not care about anything else. He hurriedly said, "The brain core is only so big. Even if it melts into a crystal, can this little bit envelop the entire source world?" "It can." The heaven-exterminating emperor laughed. "You forgot what I said. The world in our eyes might be different. You think it's big, but it might not be. Have you ever walked out of your source world to take a look? Is the world really big?" Before Fang Ping could speak, the cat muttered, "It's not big, just like a marble. It's very small." Its source world was very small. Actually, Fang Ping had seen this once before. The cat's source star was different from other people's. If this fellow lost its source star in the source world, you might not even be able to find it. Fang Ping glanced at the cat and suddenly laughed evilly. "Big cat, why don't I light up your brain core too and try wrapping it up?" "Meow." The cat raised its head and revealed a blank look. It had an adorable look on its face. In any case, it didn't understand. "What were you talking about?" "I won't do it." "How painful." Fang Ping could not help but laugh. "I've succeeded. You can try." "Meow." The cat lay on the ground and did not reply. It did not want to try. It was too painful. It was fine like this. There was actually no difference whether it was one or not. Fang Ping wanted to jump out of the source universe, but the cat did not feel much about it. Whether it jumped out or not, it felt the same. Fang Ping did not speak again. The next moment, he looked at the cat, an iron head, saying, "I'm going in to cast an eggshell. Both of you stay here and watch." As he said that, he took out the vitality bottle on him and threw it to Ironhead, smiling. "Hold it for me first. If anything happens, let the cat kill this projection. Both of you leave this place as soon as possible." Having said that, Fang Ping was about to enter the source world. The cat said, "Do you want me to go with you?" "No need." Fang Ping refused. Once the source collapsed, although it was difficult for the cat to get lost in the source universe, he still had to be careful. He did not trust these projections very much. Each of them had their own objectives. Even the heaven-exterminating emperor was not necessarily a good person. Fong Ping quickly sat cross-legged on the ground, closing his eyes and entering the source world. The chubby baby on top of his head did not enter. He continued to pee, peeing so much that his tongue was almost sticking out. The heaven-exterminating emperor took a look and said softly, "You're lucky. You actually have the help of the origin water essence. In the past, I was almost incinerated in this round. I was lucky enough to escape, but my vitality was also greatly damaged for many years." He was a little envious. If the burning was too fast, you might be burned to death before you could do anything. Now, with the help of the origin water essence, Fong Ping suppressed the intense burning. Otherwise, Fong Ping would not have the time to talk to them. The cat lay on the ground, too lazy to care about him. Ironhead looked at him for a while and asked curiously, "Why did you guys reincarnate? Had he really been killed by someone?" "I don't know how old Yao is now. Did your original body leave behind any treasures? I heard that old Yao went to look for the heaven-exterminating palace. The heaven-exterminating palace, the heaven-exterminating emperor said softly, "The old Yao you mentioned, can you tell me in detail?" Ironhead chuckled. "It's nothing much. He's just a guy who pretends to be cool. He always thinks he's the best in the world. In the end, he was beaten up by Fong Ping, then by Old Wang, and then by me." Ironhead sighed. "Among the four of us, he's the weakest. He gets beaten up every day, but he still insists on challenging this, and that. Every time, he's beaten half to death. For example, during the Martial Arts University's martial arts competition, he even wanted to fight with me for first place. I beat him until he cried on the spot." The heaven-exterminating emperor's gaze was slightly strange. He said softly, Aren't you talking about yourself? Fool, since when could you defeat others? In the past, he challenged himself countless times, but never won. Later on, in order to win once, he even wanted to ask for help from Dong Huang. In the end, it still fell through. Where did he get the courage to say he could win? Ironhead sneered. "No way. My body is invincible. He can't even break through my defense. Let alone now. Now that I've forged my jade bones, my conversion is almost complete. I should have the strength of a saint. In a few days, I'll be a heavenly king. What strength does he have? At most, he'll be a true god. If he doesn't find anything good, then he'll have the strength of a true god. I'll crush him with one finger." The heaven-exterminating emperor laughed. He did not say much. He looked at Fong Ping, who had his eyes closed, and said slowly, "Aren't you worried about him?" "Nope." Ironhead laughed. "He has never failed before, and he won't fail. Even if he can't do what he wants to do now, he'll definitely be able to do it in the future. 3 years ago, the human race was no match for the catacombs, which are the powerhouses of the land realm. We were oppressed, and our country was on the verge of extinction. At that time, even our previous king was pessimistic and felt that the future of the human race was bleak. In the end, he rose. Now, the human race is the strongest force in the 3 realms. Human race, the heaven-exterminating emperor murmured. Is he really considered human? Yes. Ironhead said disapprovingly. Do you think the human race is differentiated by whether they're human or not? Then you're too narrow-minded. No matter what his identity is, even if he's not human, as long as the human race recognizes him, he's a human king. Who in the 3 realms would dare to not recognize human King Fong Ping? How old are you? You can't even see through this." The heaven-exterminating emperor found it interesting to chat with the reincarnation of the fool. He laughed. "What about you? If you're the reincarnation of the fool, you're actually not human. Why not? Are the martial artists of the 3 realms not human from the start? Are you not human?" Ironhead said disdainfully, "You're not human, but I am. The same goes for the heaven exterminating emperor. Since he is, so what if I'm his reincarnation? I'm also human. The so-called immortals and Buddhas are nothing more than this. Back then, many powerhouses thought of themselves as immortals and Buddhas, looking down on all living beings and treating humans as ants. But now all of them are dead. Don't be fooled by the fact that there are many who have broken through 8 realms. So what? Who dares to say that humans are ants? Those who dare to say it won't live to see next year. The heaven exterminating emperor was not angry. He continued, some things may be more complicated and difficult than you think. Back then, someone wanted to change everything. The result, I'm afraid it wasn't too good. The heaven exterminating emperor sank into his memories. He said in a self-deprecating tone, reincarnation at our level, why do we need reincarnations? To live an ignoble life? Perhaps it's just some of the essence that leaked out with the weapons from when I was alive. With some stubbornness, I escaped the final calamity. Hence you guys. You guys are not us. Perhaps you're descendants of the blood essence or the essence of life. He did not recognize the existence of reincarnations, just like how Old Wang did not recognize himself as a reincarnation. These extreme-grade venerable emperors were even more arrogant. If they died in battle, then they would cease to exist. Reincarnation? Just treat them as the descendants of the essence. The heaven-exterminating emperor did not even consider that Tai Tu was his reincarnation, because he did not think he would reincarnate. Even if he, the heaven-exterminating emperor, died in battle, he would not live an ignoble life like this. The heaven-exterminating emperor was the same. He only treated these people as his descendants and inherited the essence of life. Tai Tu muttered, why do these people want to be fathers so much? Who is your descendant? Not only did the heaven-exterminating emperor recognize him as his son, but this guy also wants to be his uncle. The heaven-exterminating emperor did not speak to him anymore. He looked at the Azure Cat and chuckled. Back then, I thought your future was limited and that you were not as good as the Heavenly Hound. But now, it seems I have underestimated you. Dumb cats have dumb luck. After persevering for tens of thousands of years, it's time to reap the rewards. What a surprise. 30,000 years ago, when he met the Azure Cat, he said it was not as good as the Heavenly Hound. Many years later, when they met again, the Azure Cat had broken 7. The heaven-exterminating emperor broke 7. The heaven-exterminating emperor saw something. The Azure Cat had walked its own unique path. The Heavenly Hound might be stronger than the Azure Cat, but it might not be a good thing for the Heavenly Hound to walk too deep on the Tao of origin. The Azure Cat yawned and rested its head on the cattail hassock. It said weakly, you're the dumb one. Experts should die first. Look at you, you're dead. I sleep, I eat. I sleep, I'm so happy. I've tasted all the delicacies in the 3 realms. Have you? The Azure Cat looked at him disdainfully. Ignorant. The heaven-exterminating emperor was taken aback. He smiled and shook his head. Then he said softly, you be careful too. The world behind the door has some flaws. You and the Heavenly Hound are probably left behind by the heaven-exterminating emperor to make up for these flaws. The Azure Cat, the Heavenly Hound, came from the heaven, so it belongs to the heaven. The heaven-exterminating emperor lamented, all living beings in the 3 realms are in trouble. You won't be able to eat, sleep, and eat all the time. The Azure Cat yawned and squinted its eyes. It said lazily, I don't care. Let the swindlers beat them to death. I'm smart. I've invested in so many people. I've also invested in the fake emperor. Same for that old man. In the future, they'll fight. I'll just drink some drinks, eat some grilled fish, and cheer them on. The heaven-exterminating emperor was speechless. Ironhead chuckled and continued to strike up a conversation. He wanted to see if he could get some benefits for old Yao. They were talking. Fong Ping, on the other hand, walked out of his source world. The source body was slightly overflowing, but it was not fast. It was his first time observing his source world so directly. It did not look small. From the previous white ribbon shape, it was now turning into a sphere. The brain nucleus had melted a little. Fong Ping stood outside the sphere and was silent for a while. Suddenly, he stretched out his hand and waved. A crystal-clear stream of water surged toward him. This was the substance after the brain nucleus had melted. Cast an eggshell. Actually, it was putting the source world into the brain nucleus and the brain nucleus into his body. From there, he would complete the true unification. Fong Ping did not know if he would be able to transcend the source universe in the future if he succeeded in this step, but he wanted to try. The more he understood, the more he felt that the waters of the source were too deep. The 9 sovereigns and 4 emperors, including the heavenly emperor, were all scheming against the source path. If he wanted to avoid these, he could only transcend the source. The brain nucleus kept melting. The melted liquid was smeared by Fong Ping bit by bit. It solidified quickly and created a shell. Fong Ping tried it bit by bit, casting it bit by bit. He was very patient. Even though he was in unbearable pain, now Fong Ping did not care about it. Melt, smear, cast. Gradually, a round shell began to form. Fong Ping's source world was gradually enveloped. Following the successful creation of his shell, the source world gradually underwent some changes. Everything that was previously illusory, including the city and the human silhouettes, began to shake. Shake, shake. It was like the arrival of a natural disaster. Fong Ping did not care and continued to cast. As time passed, the shaking ground stopped shaking, and the city stopped shaking. The city became clearer and clearer. When Fong Ping was forging near a Taoist ran through his source world. At this moment, Fong Ping glanced at the source world and burst out laughing. At this moment, his source world seemed too much like an object. Lollipop. Yes, lollipops. There was a tube connected to the origin universe. Fong Ping looked at it for a while, then ignored it and continued to forge. The brain nucleus had not completely melted yet, so he continued to smear and thicken it. At that moment, Fong Ping's expression changed. Only a little bit of the brain had yet to melt. This was also the most dangerous moment. Once it completely melted, he would die as the heaven-exterminating emperor had said. Now that things had come to this, Fong Ping had no other choice. Gritting his teeth, Fong Ping let out a low chuckle. Then I'll melt it completely. From now on, I'll have no brain core, only this lollipop. I hope it won't disappoint me. If I die, old Zhang, good luck to you. Rumble. A boom rang out, and heaven and earth split apart. At this moment, within the source world, the sun suddenly disappeared, and the world was plunged into darkness. Outside the origin world, Fong Ping quickly entered the origin world. Rumble, swaying, vibrating. Fong Ping's origin body was constantly overflowing. At this moment, the 4 fat babies flew over, and peed on Fong Ping's origin body together. Fong Ping endured the disorientation and pain of disintegration, smiling. If it disintegrates, the few of you get out as soon as possible and look for Cat or Ironhead. Yeah. The 4 fat babies were anxious too. Very soon, the 4 fat babies suddenly flew away. In the blink of an eye, the 4 babies came back carrying a lake. Origin water. This was also their foundation. Splash. The lake water poured toward Fong Ping's origin body. At the same time, In the outside world, above Fong Ping's head, a dazzling light erupted. He was about to forge the skull successfully. Previously, Fong Ping was recasting the skull, but he accidentally ignited the brain nucleus. Now, as the brain nucleus was being recast, the skull was also being recast rapidly. Cat was no longer lying down. He stood up, turning around and shouting, "Big idiot, quickly transfer vitality." Ironhead was not in the mood to care about this. He hurriedly took out the small bottle that Fong Ping gave him, pouring out a large amount of vitality, and began to help Fong Ping recast the skull. Bang! Flesh and blood exploded. At this moment, a crystal-like skeleton appeared. It quickly connected into one, glowing with a jade color. It had not reached the jade bone realm yet. Previously, Fong Ping was only recasting the bones, not directly forging the jade bones. At this time, as all the bones were successfully recast, Fong Ping was also approaching the jade bone realm. Beside him, Heaven Exterminating Emperor suddenly said, "Fong Ping, quickly transfer the new brain nucleus into the skull, forging the jade bones together, forging the jade body as one." These words were transmitted directly to Fong Ping's origin world. At this moment, a crystal ball suddenly appeared in the void. There was no Tao on the crystal ball, but there was an obvious small hole. That was the entrance of the Tao to the origin universe. The crystal ball quickly burrowed into the skull. When the crystal ball stabilized in the skull, suddenly, Fong Ping's bones suddenly erupted with a strong light. Blinding. Powerful. Ironhead looked surprised. This was much bigger than when he was forging the jade bones. Ironhead dared not delay, continuing to pour vitality. This time, the absorption of vitality was frighteningly fast. Fong Ping previously took 600 small fish, intending to leave half for old Zhang to forge the jade bones. However, this time, the consumption was extremely fast. Especially the brain, the vitality absorbed was terrifying. In the blink of an eye, the vitality in the small bottle was actually about to be depleted. Just when Ironhead was slightly nervous, suddenly a loud bang was heard. In the next moment, a jade skeleton was reflected in his eyes. The skeleton stood up, its eyes glowing with divine light. The divine light exploded with a bang, sending Ironhead flying directly. At this moment, Ironhead did not care about this, but he felt a little inferior. Why did this fellow Fong Ping's bones feel a little brighter than his? He was still very bright before. Why did he look a little dim now? Damn, they were both forging the jade bones. This fellow just had to be different from him. What a show-off. Ha ha ha. Right at this moment, the snow-white skeleton let out a hearty laugh. The laughter was a little savage, a little arrogant. Success. Today, I will forge the golden body again. No, the jade body. Fong Ping growled. He wanted to forge the strongest physical body that belonged to him today. Chapter 1337. Flesh Rebirth. The golden body technique activated. Today, Fong Ping started everything anew. His bones were reforged. His flesh was reforged. His brain core returned to one. It could be said that the current Fong Ping was truly complete. Flawless golden body. Of course, there were still some flaws. The black hole on his brain core was still connected to the origin universe. Otherwise, Fong Ping could be regarded as a beginner martial artist, a top-notch powerhouse even among beginner martial artists. His golden body was being forged. In the blink of an eye, Fong Ping returned to his original appearance. At this moment, the golden glow was becoming more and more dazzling. This time, he did not use imperishable substances, but vitality. There might be some problems with the vitality here, but at this stage, Fong Ping would, of course, choose the one with the least problems. The vitality here should be the seed's vitality. The energy of the three realms originated from the seed. If even the seed's energy could not be used, then the martial artists of the three realms were actually puppets. Compared to the system's power, Fong Ping was more willing to use this popular power. The vitality equivalent to 600 small fishes was absorbed by Fong Ping. Now, there was not much left. But Fong Ping did not stop. He was still forging his golden body. There were 9 refinements for the golden body, and there was even a jade body. It seemed like no one had forged their flesh to that realm. This time, Fong Ping's harvest was really great. Rumble! The rumble sounded like thunder. That was the harmony between Fong Ping's flesh and bones. At this moment, Fong Ping grabbed Ironhead and laughed. You forge your flesh too. Don't always make yourself look like a skeleton. As soon as he said that, Ironhead's flesh appeared. Fong Ping looked at the remaining vitality and laughed. Then I'll use it all. I'll think of something for old Zhang. Ironhead did not even have the time to speak. In this short period of time, his flesh was honed again and again. Fong Ping pressed him down forcefully, forcing the honing. Ironhead was in so much pain that he wanted to cut someone. This bastard. I see that you have a good time forging. Why is it so painful to forge my flesh? Again and again, he tempered it. Fong Ping did not know how long it lasted. A rumble exploded. Fong Ping's golden body flickered, glowing a faint jade color. In the blink of an eye, it returned to its original appearance, with flesh color. At this moment, Ironhead's honing was completed. Ironhead, who had regained his flesh, could not care less about himself. He looked at the increasingly handsome Fong Ping and clicked his tongue. Did you do plastic surgery on purpose? The more one looked at Fong Ping, the more attractive he seemed, and the more handsome he looked. This guy was just average in the past. Fong Ping glanced at him, too lazy to bother with him. At his level, he had a leakless golden body, and his skin was like clear jade. With good skin, no matter how ugly he looked, he wouldn't look too bad. Besides, he wasn't ugly to begin with. Add to that the fact that he was a martial artist, his body was well proportioned, and his aura was extraordinary. At that moment, Fong Ping felt that he was extremely handsome. Ignoring Ironhead, Fong Ping looked at his own data, thinking about something. Wealth, 250 billion points vitality, 4,200,000 calories. Converting spirit, 44,000 hertz, 44,000 hertz. Force, 50 yuan, 1 yuan equals 20,000 calories. Jade bones, 99% with qualitative change of qi and blood. Source world, 970 meters battle technique. God slaying sword technique, plus 15%. Origin Dao, plus 160%. Fake Dao. Power control, 97%. Ultimate outburst, 13,871,000 calories per 14,300,000 calories. Jade bones aren't 100%. Fong Ping was a little surprised. He could not help but think of the problem with the brain nucleus. If that was the case, the three realms actually did not have true jade bones. No, or rather, there were no truly perfect jade bone powerhouses. Even Fong Ping could not reach 100%. If that was the case, the brain nucleus had to be perfectly integrated to be considered 100% jade bone. After forging jade bones, although it was only 99%, it was already undergoing qualitative change of qi and blood. Fong Ping's vitality upper limit was now a question mark. Obviously, it was still in the process of transformation. Fong Ping's gaze changed. His vitality was already as high as 4 million calories before, but after converting part of the force, it should be lower than 4 million calories. Now, in the blink of an eye, it had reached 2 million calories. After the qualitative change, could it reach 8 million calories? If it could, It would be terrifying. If I can reach 8 million calories, and it's the current increment of fake Tao, then wouldn't the limit be around 25 million calories? Origin power was also converted from blood and chi energy. 50 force would be equivalent to the strength of 1 million calories vitality. The normalization method allowed Fong Ping to achieve the coexistence of force and vitality force. In reality, Fong Ping's current basic vitality was already as high as 2 million calories, and it was still strengthening. After forging jade bones, Fong Ping's strength was strong. He could not complete the qualitative change of vitality so quickly. Just like the old cat, after it had forged jade bones, it could not reach its peak so quickly. The source world's diameter is 970 meters. It's almost there. Fong Ping finally showed some joy on his face. Moreover, things like vitality and force were only on the surface. His bones were strong, his flesh strong. If he encountered someone whose explosive power was similar to his, Fong Ping could completely withstand it. If he unleashed his full strength, the other party would definitely not be a match for him. Fong Ping was considered a true all-rounder powerhouse. Today's powerhouses, more or less, were slightly biased. Right now, I'm afraid my outburst has exceeded 14 million calories. Literally speaking, Fong Ping's outburst had not reached 14 million yet, but Fong Ping felt that he could do it. Before continuing to convert force, Fong Ping could actually achieve an outburst of 14 million calories. He was not far from peak breakthrough 7. When the vitality conversion is complete, I'll convert all my strength into force. When that time comes, I'll be even stronger. Fong Ping's thoughts turned, and he sighed. This time in the arcane realm, he had almost completed the few goals that he had set previously, except for the source world. As long as the source world reached 1,000 meters, if he underwent another qualitative change, then all of his plans would be completed. It's a pity that I've used up most of my vitality. Old Zhang and the others are gone. Also, I can't carry out the clone plan anymore. There are 3 more stages left. Only 3 more stages left. Fong Ping could not wait to meet King Zhen now. If he snatched the Kunwang seal from King Zhen, then all of his previous plans could be completed. Damn it, where is that bastard? Fong Ping cursed in his heart. If the last heavenly king seal could allow his source world to complete a transformation, Fong Ping felt that he would be terrifyingly strong. Maybe he could break 9? However, Fong Ping quickly shook his head. It should not be possible, because at that time, his Tao might collapse. A saint-level Tao might not be able to support such a powerful source unless it was a more powerful heavenly king Tao. Even a heavenly king Tao that broke 6 might not be able to do it. Fong Ping realized that as his vitality changed and his physique became stronger, his Tao was actually collapsing bit by bit. His physique was suppressing the source world. This time, Fong Ping finally experienced the situation that the beginner martial artists were talking about. A strong physique and strong mentality would really suppress the source world. Fong Ping's physique had already surpassed some powerhouses that broke 8 or even 9. His physique had completely reached the heavenly king stage and was still strengthening. While Fong Ping was observing himself, Heaven Exterminating the Arch was also looking at him. After sensing Fong Ping's current situation, Heaven Exterminating the Arch suddenly sighed. Very strong, even stronger than me in the past. At least when I broke 7 levels, my physique and bones were not as strong as yours. Fong Ping rolled his eyes. Nonsense. You are a mentality cultivator, and you want to compete with me? Heaven Exterminating the Arch continued. Even the most outstanding Zhan might not be able to match up to you in the same realm and level. Fong Ping laughed this time. Brother Exterminating the Arch, you are too kind. However, Heaven Exterminating the Arch shook his head again. Even so, it will be difficult for you to break out of this cage and escape from everything. Fong Ping was relaxed now. He sat down and smiled. Brother exterminating the arch, how about we talk about the new product? Heaven exterminating the arch laughed. Actually, there is nothing much to say. Some things are just guesses. As a chess piece, I have never seen the person behind the scenes. Even I am not sure if I am a chess piece. Just say it in simple terms. Heaven exterminating the arch thought for a while and said slowly, some of the energy you used previously, including some mentality produced when your brain core was burned, I am somewhat familiar with it. Familiar? Yes. Heaven exterminating the arch seemed to be thinking about something. After a while, he said self-deprecatingly, I can't even judge my own strength. However, when you burned, I am indeed somewhat familiar with some of the overflowing energy produced. This is the benefit of having a strong spiritual consciousness. I can investigate some things from the source. You sigh. Fong Ping's eyes flickered slightly. He quickly condensed some imperishable substance. The imperishable substance started burning on his hand, but it could not harm his skin. Heaven exterminating the arch closed his eyes and began sensing carefully. After a long time, Heaven exterminating the arch shook his head. It is extremely weak. I can't sense it clearly. This energy has been processed by someone. Moreover, it is not my own energy, so I can't sense it too clearly. I can only see that it is a destructive energy without a source. Are you trying to ask if this is the energy of a fool? When Heaven exterminating the arch said that, Fong Ping had already made this judgment. He nodded and said, That's right. I want to know if the destructive energy belongs to Celestial Emperor Batian. As for the spiritual consciousness energy, is it yours? Vitality energy, is it Celestial Emperor Zhan? Having said that, Fong Ping condensed vitality energy and mentality again and started burning. Not only that, he also condensed origin chi. He said in a low voice, this origin chi might not be anyone's energy. It should be from the source universe. Does this mean that someone is extracting the energy from the source universe? How many people can do this? Heaven exterminating the arch said that when Fong Ping burned his brain core, he actually felt some weak energy that belonged to him. This news was shocking. It was even shocking. Fong Ping asked a few questions consecutively. He looked at the old cat again and said in a low voice, Big cat, in the past, you said that my strength was stolen and that it was ownerless. Now, can you remember something? The cat looked up, confused. He thought hard and said pitifully, Maybe I sense their energy? Pointing his paw at Heaven exterminating the arch, the cat said uncertainly, Anyway, when I first saw you, I knew that the energy didn't belong to you. It belongs to someone else. It's ownerless because it doesn't have the aura of the origin of life. Heaven exterminating the arch sighed. It's ownerless. Even I can't distinguish this energy now. It is indeed ownerless energy. However, you have to understand that vitality energy, spiritual consciousness energy, and destructive energy are not natural energies. They are cultivated. These energies were not natural and did not exist in the natural world. All power came from cultivation. However, Fong Ping's system provided him with these energies. Obviously, this power had been refined by some people who cultivated them. At this moment, the few of them had an answer. Fong Ping looked at Heaven exterminating the arch. Heaven exterminating the arch laughed at himself. When he saw Fong Ping, he said, Maybe they are all dead. Yes, dead, because the energy might be theirs. His mentality, Heaven exterminating Thearka's vitality energy, and Heaven exterminating Thearka's destructive energy. They were all dead. After they died, someone took away their energy, purified it, and provided it to Fong Ping. The few of them had the same thought. Heaven exterminating the arch felt even more bitter. Test subjects. Fong Ping, a new product. This was his guess. They were considered failures, so someone killed them and started forging new products. And Fong Ping was this new product. Fong Ping's expression darkened. It was terrifying. It was indeed terrifying. In the past, he had guessed that the system might be a product of the emperor. Later, he thought it might be a product of the celestial emperor. Now, he did not know. He was lost. He had killed 3 supreme Tao emperors. How did the 3 supreme emperors die? Who killed them? The murderer might be the real owner of the system. What a terrifying thing. What a shocking thing. One could imagine how powerful this person was to be able to kill 3 supreme emperors. What was he trying to do? Heaven exterminating the arch saw him frown and suddenly chuckled. Maybe it's a good thing. Everything is just a guess. But since it's just a guess, this person is so powerful that even our real bodies are no match for him. We are all failures. That means that this person will not harvest now. Maybe when you become an emperor, it will be time for him to harvest. Because the 3 supreme emperors are all failures. What could be more powerful and satisfying than 3 supreme emperors? Emperor. Gathering the strongest of the 3 and becoming an emperor might be his goal. This should be a good thing, shouldn't it? Fong Ping licked his lips and asked, "Do you have any suspects?" Divine Emperor, Dong Huang, Celestial Emperor, Sun God, Heaven exterminating the arch named 5 people, the same names given by the emperor that day. He said softly, "These 5 people are the most ancient, the most mysterious. Dong Huang counts too?" Fong Ping asked, "Was Dong Huang also one of these possible people?" "Yes." Heaven exterminating the arch said softly, "The reason why I'm guessing these people is not a wild guess. Dong Huang taught John and has a close relationship with Silly Guy. The 2 of them knew each other before they became Taoists. Silly Guy walked the physique extreme Tao and was actually influenced by him. The martial artists who influenced us to walk the extreme Tao are all suspicious." Heaven exterminating the arch looked at Ironhead, smiled, and said, "In the past of all the Taoists in the world, people like us chose one and moved forward. We have our own ideas, and some other powerhouses influenced us. The 5 people I mentioned have a certain influence on us. The person who influenced them to walk the extreme Tao might be the mastermind behind it. 5 people. Sun God is not as famous as the other 4, just as Fong Ping said this. Heaven exterminating the arch shook his head and said, "It's not about fame. Among the 9 sovereigns and 4 emperors, at least 5 of them have been taught by Sun God. What he is good at? I don't know." "What do you mean?" "Beginners are usually good at one Tao. What is Sun God good at?" Heaven exterminating the arch laughed and said, "No one knows, because he is good at every Tao. The disciple he taught, Zhen, is good at many Taos, but his spiritual consciousness Tao is slightly weaker. However, Zhen's younger brother, King Zheng, is not weak in the spiritual consciousness Tao. This should be influenced by him. If that's the case, Sun God might not have shown his true strength." Fong Ping asked no more. Actually, there was nothing more to ask. Now, a lot of things were clear. He had indeed been used as a pawn by someone. He could be said to be a new product of the mastermind after the 3 emperors failed. He was deducing from the extreme Tao again, trying to create an omnipotent emperor of the extreme Tao. Fong Ping suddenly sneered and said, "Now I understand. All right, I know all these. Is there anything else you want to tell me?" Heaven exterminating the arch laughed and said, "Actually, there's nothing more to say. You know what you need to know. If you don't know, then we don't know either. Maybe the real body knows, but the real body is most likely dead. But he looked at Ironhead and laughed. Even if the few of us die, we won't admit defeat like this. Maybe there are still some imprints between heaven and earth. You guys don't have to worry about anything. Maybe we still have the power for one last attack. You guys are the weapon legacies that unleash the power of this attack. Because I realized that all of you have descended with the strongest weapons we had when we were alive. Maybe this is a sign. We might have left something in the three realms. At the last moment, I look forward to fighting with all of you. He said it calmly. It was a little sad, but not sad. He chatted with Ironhead for a while. He felt that even if the few of them died, they might still have left something behind. Weapon legacies, according to his habits. If he really died in battle, unless there was no hope, he would not admit defeat even if his weapon was broken. He did not break his God-exterminating spear. This meant that he might have left his hope to the future. Hold the spear, kill. Not only him, Jean and Ba did not break their divine weapons. This was not their style. Such a strange legacy. Perhaps the real body had other motives and ideas. The biggest possibility was that he had left behind his strongest attack and did not use it. Ironhead licked his lips and asked, "You mean you guys still have power left in the three realms that can unleash power beyond the limit?" "Maybe, I'm not sure." The heaven-exterminating Dharch laughed. "You guys need to find it and open it yourselves. If you are not strong enough, you might not have triggered all of this, because we have all been defeated. Without strength, the legacies are useless." "Understood." Ironhead exhaled. He also felt that the three of them might have really died. The complete legacy of the weapon was definitely not right. "There's nothing else for me to do. You guys can pass." The heaven-exterminating Dharch had nothing more to say, but when he was about to teleport them, he suddenly said, "Although the Emperor God is suspicious, he might not be the one. If it was him, the Tao tree would not have come here. Of course, everything is hard to confirm. You guys go and see for yourselves. Other than the five of them, it's not impossible for others." Even the heaven-exterminating Dharch suddenly grinned, revealing his snow-white teeth. "Even if we did it ourselves." The three emperors worked together to fake their deaths and set up this game of chess. It's not impossible. Fang Ping's heart skipped a beat. There was no time to ask. Space-time rotated, and in the blink of an eye, they disappeared from this level. The 10th level was broken. Fang Ping and the others disappeared. The heaven-exterminating Dharch was like a fossil, sitting on the stone platform, motionless. After a long time, he suddenly opened his eyes and looked forward. A middle-aged man came through the air. The middle-aged man strolled leisurely, hands behind his back, chuckling. "Long time no see, exterminating." "It's you. It's me." The heaven-exterminating Thearka's gaze changed. "What are you doing here?" "To break through and reminisce." "Nothing to reminisce about." "Exterminating. Do you also think that I was the one who attacked you? Among the three emperors, you are the most rational and shrewd. If it was really me, I wouldn't have come here today to reminisce with you guys." The heaven-exterminating Dharch was indifferent, putting on an act to divert attention. What a petty trick. The middle-aged man sighed. "Sovereign, extreme, transcendence, friends, disciples, fellow Taoists of the past. Now, they have all gone their separate ways. What a pity, what a pity." The heaven-exterminating Dharch said nothing. After a while, he said coldly, "If you break through, this source world will be enough to pass." The middle-aged man sat opposite him and smiled. "There's no hurry. While no one is here, have a cup of tea." "Oh, right. Did Fang Ping and the rest just pass?" "No comment. Even if you don't say, I can still sense the aura. The middle-aged man took out a teapot and a teacup. As he poured tea, he smiled. Say, is the formation of this place man-made or not? Fong Ping, and the rest will receive some gifts here. Is it a seed to save itself? You also know that some of us have been eyeing the seeds. The source of power of the three realms may not have any intelligence, but it should still have instincts. Do you think that it is trying to save itself? That's why this place was formed, so that the people who can save it can obtain some opportunities. Don't you know? The heaven exterminating Dharch said indifferently. Do you still need to ask me? I don't know. That's why I'm here. The middle-aged man sipped his tea and pondered. I feel that something is wrong with G. He might be involved. I didn't go to Spirit. There's something wrong with the teleportation passageway. There are many people involved in this place. Those who have entered now might not know anything. You're trying to cover it up. The heaven exterminating Dharch said coldly, there's no need for that. I've fallen long ago. All that's left is some memories. When this place is destroyed, we will naturally return to dust. Why do you need to lie to us? You, the middle-aged man, sighed. You're not as pure as you used to be. I thought that idiot could still talk to you, who knew that he'd severed his memories. Now all that's left is martial arts and combat techniques. His memories are gone. There are fewer and fewer old friends that I can talk to. The look in heaven exterminating Thearka's eyes changed. There was an inexplicable sadness in them. Then he laughed heartily. That's good too. No memories, no worries. Sometimes this idiot is more carefree than me and John. Yes, it's a pity for this old friend. The middle-aged man raised his cup and drank a cup of tea. He stood up. I'm leaving. Perhaps we'll meet again. Perhaps we'll never meet again. The heaven exterminating the arch was silent. He also drank a cup of tea. The passageway opened. The middle-aged man stepped into it. Before he left, he suddenly said in a low voice, perhaps I can help you be reborn. Gather your origin and find an origin reincarnation. Live again and fight alongside me. The heaven exterminating the arch looked at his back and was speechless for a long time. When he was about to disappear, he said softly, exterminating will only fight for one lifetime. This lifetime will only be exterminated. Sigh. The sigh echoed. He had already disappeared. The heaven exterminating the arch. None of the three great emperors chose to fight again. Sad, lamentable, respectable. The middle-aged man felt a sense of loss. The death of the three emperors was the regret of the three realms. P.S. Only 2 chapters left. This is the longest I've ever written. I've written more than 300,000 words. It's too tiring to write a single chapter. I need to make some adjustments before continuing. Please forgive me, brothers. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.